Hello. All right, not sure if anyone's going to show up. This is just kind of a spur of the moment thing. But if anyone does, I just figured I'd give a quick update. We'll see what happens. Not seeing anybody yet. I'll give it a couple minutes. If we don't get anything, that's okay. I could just try again some other time. I think we're all good. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm just, I got microphone, got camera. I think we're all good. I think we're all set up. Boom. Dusty Gazongas. Holy shit, you're still alive. I am. I'm doing science and I'm still alive. I see 4 viewers. Anyone else out there? Yeah, so I'm not sure where to begin then. But yeah, it's been a while. I just figured, I don't know, just something hit me this morning. It's like, let's do one. Why not? Just let everyone know what's going on. I was, when was the last thing I did? Was it in February? Maybe January? I can't remember the last video I posted. But yeah, it was just kind of like, I was starting to focus on other things, like writing scripts and trying to get films made, short films, stuff like that. And yeah, it was just kind of like I wanted to focus more on that, devote more time to that. And yeah, it was a pretty spontaneous thing back then too. It's just like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from the channel for a little while. When I get back to it, I'll get back to it. And then yeah, just today it was kind of like, maybe I could try getting back to it. Why not? Let's see what happens. And I'm kind of just thinking about what I want to do for the future of the channel too, or if I want to keep doing stuff. And I'm thinking like videos I post in the future, it's probably going to be just unmade masterpieces. That'll probably be the only thing I really continue to focus on. And live streams as much as I'm able to. But yeah, like Henry recommends, all that other stuff. It's kind of, I don't know if just because for a while I just thought if you have a YouTube channel, you need to be posting content constantly, keep the content coming all the time. And I just don't think I'm really a channel that is suited to that. Oh, Mohi Taheri. Hey, Henry, welcome back. Thank you. Welcome back to you, sir. Eddie Moriarty, welcome back, man. Welcome back to you as well. Good to see you all. But yeah, so I think just the more I've thought about the channel, the more I think just like, I don't think I'm really one of those channels that is going to be posting like something every week. So yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of cut it down to focusing on the unmade masterpieces, which seem to be the things that are really popular and that people really enjoy. And I'll just focus on, trying to get some of those together, editing those, posting those whenever I post them. And yeah, just see what happens with that, I think just at this point, I don't really want to devote like a full-time focus to the YouTube channel anymore. But I want to try to keep doing stuff as much as I'm able to. So we'll see what I'm able to do. And I might continue with the live streams too. I'm starting to see some comments too. John Board, great to see you again. Thank you. Good to see you too. Mohi, I really missed this. I had no one to talk about movies with. My friends got mad at me. Oh, that makes me feel so bad to hear that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I might have to continue doing the live streams too. Roy O'Connor, so you're back. I sense a little disdain behind that. So you're back, huh? Yes, I guess I am. And I guess I should probably say right now, there's not really, I'm not really able to have a live stream schedule anymore. I was working at Fred Meyer before, and I was able to request Saturdays off every week. And I got pretty sick of Fred Meyer, so I recently found another job. I'm working at a coffee shop now, which I'm actually kind of enjoying. It's a pretty cool place. Just a small, little independently owned thing. It's not a big corporation or a big chain or anything. But you know, because it's a smaller place, I can't really request days off, or I can't really request the same day off every week the way I did, you know, at Fred Meyer. I can still request days off, but it's kind of a different system. It's just, you know, because they don't really have a lot of people and they're kind of smaller, it's kind of just like I have to work when they need me. So I don't think I'll be able to live stream every Saturday anymore, but maybe I can just make it into a whenever I have a day. It seems like I'm fairly consistently getting Sundays off, so maybe Sunday will be the new live stream day. I'm not sure. Oh, Roy O'Connor, thank you. It was a reference to A Clockwork Orange. Thank you for pointing that out. I did not catch that. It went right over my head. I need to see that movie again. It's been a long time. Eddie Moriarty, how are your other projects going? Great to hear you are working on other things. You know, not so well. It's frustrating, you know, trying to get movies made. It is really frustrating. Being in Portland is great because there's actually opportunity. There's stuff you can do. There's people you can meet. But, you know, it really takes a lot of effort getting a movie made. But, you know, I've met up with some people. I've been working on scripts with people, kind of in the process of writing one right now with somebody. I shot a short film with my brother and Felix and a couple of us. We kind of did like, yeah, a short, no, what would you, maybe a dark comedy is how you would define it. I'm not sure. And yeah, it was great getting to make that. I had a lot of fun being able to actually direct, you know, and make a movie. It was so much fun. I felt like I was, you know, right where I'd always wanted to be. But unfortunately, you know, the movie didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to. I was kind of disappointed with a lot of stuff. I started editing it and just didn't like the way it was coming together. And someone's starting a car outside. Don't know if you can hear that. That's okay. But yeah, I just got kind of frustrated with it. And yeah, basically just abandoned it. I don't think I'm going to finish it. We kind of started writing something else. And yeah, it's just, you know, Felix and Dana are just kind of focused on their own things right now. And just kind of feels like, you know, I don't know, just a lot of frustration, and then just trying to meet up with other people and trying to set up things. I joined the Oregon, what is it? This thing. The Oregon Media Production Association. I joined this, which is basically, yeah, kind of a collective for technicians and artists in the Pacific Northwest. And I've met a lot of people there. They have like mixers every month. And everybody just kind of gets together, meets up, networks, and I've been trying to do those. I've done a couple of those a few months in a row now. And I've met people, I've exchanged cards, you know, I've gotten cards, I've sent emails, and I haven't really gotten anything back, you know. I even met one of the producers for Portlandia, and I was talking with him a little bit, and I was saying like, yeah, I'm really trying to get into directing, and he was saying like, yeah, shoot me an email, and we'll meet up and I can kind of do like just a one-on-one talk with you, try to figure things out with you. And it's like, that sounds awesome, really cool. I sent him some emails and never heard anything back. So, but you know, that's kind of the film biz. It's just a lot of frustration, and it's starting to get to me. You know, I've been kind of last week or so, I've been pretty depressed, and it's been hard, yeah, to find the motivation to keep going forward, keep working on stuff. Haven't really been seeing a lot of movies. Haven't really felt motivated to really watch movies lately. Been seeing a couple. I saw Annihilation in theaters a couple months back, which was really good. Excellent movie. Excellent sci-fi film. What was the one I saw after that? I can't remember. I think the last one I saw was Ready Player One. Spielberg's Ready Player One, which I've heard mixed things on. Now that I usually avoid reviews before I see a movie. And I saw it and I really liked it. I thought it was excellent. It was so much better than what I was expecting, especially seeing the initial trailers and thinking it was just going to be references to other stuff. I really wasn't, expecting too much from it. I ended up really enjoying it. I had a great time with that one. And now, since seeing it, I've been hearing kind of mixed stuff. I've been talking like with people at work. Some of them are saying like, "Oh, it was so dumb." I've been seeing, other stuff saying like, "Oh, I didn't like it," but I really enjoyed it. I think it's worth seeing. That's just me. Ooh, Abimanu, heard from you and Gaspar Noé at the same day. That's right. I actually just watched that trailer before I started the live stream. Gaspar Noé's new film just premiered at Cannes like a day or two ago, or 2 days. I'm not sure which. But yeah, there's a trailer out. His new movie, it was called Psyche, and I didn't even know he'd already shot it and that it was already out. I had no idea. I heard like a couple months ago that he was working on something, and then just, seemingly out of nowhere, it's like, oh, Gaspar Noé's new film, reviewed at Cannes. What? And there's a trailer, and it's called Climax, and it looks crazy, and I'm really excited for it. So I hope that comes out soon. And then, the other thing is I want to do an Unmade Masterpieces on Man Who Killed Don Quixote as well, just because that one's finally finished, miraculously. Gilliam actually filmed Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and it's scheduled to premiere at Cannes, and I think it is going to. But yeah, I don't know if any of you have seen just kind of like the nightmare that's been continuing to develop around Man Who Killed Don Quixote, but that's just insane. And I'm still trying to put together the whole series on Dune, but I might actually take a break from Dune and try to put something together on Man Who Killed Don Quixote first, just because I keep kicking my desk. I'm sorry. But I kind of wanted to put together something on that, just because it keeps developing. Gilliam just keeps running into roadblock after roadblock. I mean, everybody knows, with the whole Lost in La Mancha documentary, the first production kind of fell apart, and then multiple productions after that. And then finally he gets a deal with Amazon Studios, gets the film shot, gets the film finished, but now there's this whole thing where one of the producers that he made a deal with, I think his name, I cannot remember this guy's name, but he was like the producer on Cosmopolis and a couple of Wim Wenders movies. I guess Gilliam made a deal with him, and this guy kind of failed to put the money together for the production, so Gilliam went to somewhere else and got money from them. This guy lost his mind and has just been suing the production nonstop since then. And Gilliam was able to get the movie shot, but it's just been going through so much trouble now. This producer, for all his lawsuits and everything, he's killed multiple deals. He caused Gilliam's deal with Amazon to finally just collapse. So Man Who Killed Don Quixote is no longer being distributed by Amazon. It was, I think, up in the air whether or not it was even going to premiere at Cannes, because this guy was saying, I own this movie. They have to pay me. They can't premiere it anywhere. They can't show it anywhere until they pay me my money. So it was wrapped up in the courts, and nobody was even sure if it was going to premiere at Cannes. But I guess the French courts finally just recently ruled in Gilliam's favor. So the movie is going to premiere, but the Amazon deal is gone. So distribution is up in the air right now. We don't know if this movie is going to get distributed, if it will be allowed to be seen, because it's still wrapped up in all these court lawsuits and just all this stuff that this guy keeps throwing at it. So it's like, Jesus, the battle never ends for that movie. The movie is actually finished and ready to show to people, and still he can't get it out there. It's unbelievable. Gilliam had a heart attack from all the stuff that's been developing over it. It's like, Jesus, that guy just can't catch a break. Unbelievable. But yeah, I was reading so much about that I was kind of like, I really need to put something together on this. I find it so fascinating and so frustrating and outraging that all this stuff continues happening with that project, and poor Gilliam. And And apparently the team that put together Lost in La Mancha are also putting together a second part, another documentary called, I think, The Man Who Saw Giants, or The Man Who Fought Giants, or something like that, something with giants. And it's going to be about the production up to this point now. Oh, yeah, Eddie Moriarty, I think. Yeah, they are actually making a sequel to Lost in La Mancha to cover all of the updated developments of the production. Yes, I saw that as well. But yeah, crazy. Oh, and Film Persona, Terry finally made it, and right before the premiere, he had a stroke. He really can't catch a break. Yeah, just the stress never ends for that poor guy. What else we got here? Dusty Gazangas. If you get discouraged, just remember, if Neil Breen can get funding to make his weird space Jesus movies, you can follow your dreams as well. Thank you for that. You look at some people that get stuff made, and yeah, it's really like, they can do it. Why can't I do it? But I mean, it is frustrating. It's tough, guys. It's tough getting a movie made. Just getting people interested, getting stuff together. I mean, it's pretty much at this point, it's a pipe dream to hope like to get any money to actually do stuff. But just getting people together is so frustrating, and keeping them committed to something and enthusiastic about something, it's tough. It's really tough. You really got to have like just an iron determination to keep pushing forward and getting stuff made. I have nothing but admiration, looking at the people who do actually make it happen. It's kind of a miracle. And I'm starting to really learn that firsthand, just how tough it really is getting something together at any level. Eddie Moriarty, man, keep working at it. I think everybody has to go through a lot of frustration before they get anywhere. I'm sure if you keep working on your own stuff, you will break through eventually. I hope so. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Really hope so. It's discouraging. But, I really don't have any other skill set. So I think I just got to keep trying, whether I want to or not. And I did send some scripts out. I've been writing some horror scripts, and I've been kind of looking up like prosthetic and makeup effects companies in the Portland area, and I found a couple, and so I've been emailing scripts out. So I'm hoping to either hear back from them or to have my ideas stolen so I can have some stories to tell. We'll see. But yeah, it'd certainly be nice to hear back from one of them. But, I'm trying. And, I got the OMPA thing, and they got like numbers for producers and cinematographers, basically anybody in the Pacific Northwest area with any kind of film skill. Their contact info is in there. And I've just been avoiding it for the longest time, I guess just because I'm scared. But, I'm going to have to start, sending emails out, sending scripts out, doing whatever I can, to just try and make those connections necessary to get stuff rolling, But it's tough when you're a nobody and you haven't really proven yourself yet. But yeah, I'm going to keep trying, going to keep banging my head against that brick wall. Abimanu, yes, man, it is crazy, Man Who Killed Don Quixote. It doesn't stop. And I certainly hope, I don't know exactly. I think the movie is still kind of stuck in a legal limbo where it's not really certain if it's going to premiere at Cannes. That much we know. The courts ruled in favor of Gilliam on that one. But there's still lawsuits all over the place. And so I think it is currently ambiguous as to whether or not the movie is actually going to get distribution into theaters, or if it's going to get distribution at all. It might just premiere at Cannes and then just get wrapped up in all this other stuff for God knows how long. Or the courts might rule in the favor of this producer, which apparently has happened in a couple of the cases that this guy has filed, which have blocked the movie from getting shown in certain places. So the courts very well could rule in favor of this producer and prevent the movie from being shown unless they pay him God knows how much money. Mm-hmm. So it could end up never getting released, which would be heartbreaking. I really hope it does get released, but there's a chance it might not. So I might put together, an unmade masterpieces and then find out the movie's never going to be put out, which would be terrible. But something worth doing an episode on. It could end up being a made masterpiece, but just an unreleased masterpiece or something like that. Kuhad, hey mate, good to see you. Good to see you too. Yeah, I'm trying, just doing a spontaneous live stream just because I felt like it. Gonna try and start doing one a week again, and I'm gonna start trying to pick up work on unmade masterpieces again. Can't really say when I'll be posting them, but I'm gonna try and do what I can when I can, while at the same time trying to keep a failing film career going. Film Persona, Terry and Lars are premiering in Out of Competition program. Terry Gilliam's new one premiering Out of Competition apparently. But yeah, that was another thing that was up in the air for a little while, whether or not Man Who Killed Don Quixote would be able to play at Cannes at all. But it was just ruled. The courts just ruled that Gilliam can premiere it. Lars von Trier, I did not hear about. Is House That Jack Built, is that finished? Is that gonna premiere? I might have to look this up. I don't think I can because I'm live streaming. It'll tax my laptop far too much trying to open another tab. But I'm gonna have to look that up. I did not know House That Jack Built was completed, and I didn't know Gaspar Noé's new one was completed yet either. But yeah, I saw the trailer for Climax. Looks really good. Film Persona. Yeah, tomorrow. House That Jack Built tomorrow. Holy shit! I had no idea. That's pretty exciting. Hope that one gets. Well, I don't know if it'll get good reviews. But hopefully the reaction is interestingly polarized. That's always what you can hope for with a Lars von Trier. But I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Hank Romento, the trailer for Climax is out. Yes, it is. You can look it up right now. It's in French, and it's only 57 seconds, but it really piqued my interest. It looks really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to that one. House That Jack Built, I'm very much looking forward to as well. There isn't a trailer for that one, is there? If there is, I'm going to have to check it out. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't a trailer for it. Maybe tomorrow, after it premieres or something. Hank Romento, I guess I got to learn French then. It's all pretty simple. I think there's actually, I don't think there is any dialogue in the trailer. It's all visual, and then just like kind of Godard style title cards. And most of them, the French is kind of easily translatable into English. It's like La Sangria, and you see a cup full of sangria. So it's like, okay, I think I get what they're saying here. It's mostly stuff like that. But yeah, it looks interesting. I've heard it's really wild. I just read a review for it too. Even though I typically avoid that, it just took me by such surprise. Like, what? Gaspar Noé's new movie? I read a quick review of it too that was saying like, oh yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. It's Gaspar Noé. It's like, oh, good. Glad to hear that. Film Persona. I'm coming to Cannes on Wednesday. Wow. Very cool. I will miss Lars's film by just a day. That sucks. Hopefully you get to see some cool stuff though. I know there's a lot of interesting things playing this year, but hopefully, yeah, you get to see some good stuff. Cannes is always exciting every year. Kuhad, good luck with your aspirations. Hope it works out for you. I went to film school, worked on film sets, and then walked away from it when I realized the industry is full of wankers. I can understand that. I can certainly understand that. You meet some not so good people in this industry. Luckily, most of the people I've met have been pretty cool. And the people I'm working with right now are really, really cool. And I'm enjoying working with them. But, just when you're at this level, it's just so tough to get stuff put together. And yeah, mostly at the point I'm at now, it's just been kind of like people saying like, oh yeah, I'll shoot you an email back, or, oh, I'll read your script and I'll let you know what I thought. And then you just never hear about it, which I can't necessarily blame on those people. There might be a ton of other stuff they're focusing on. I don't know the reasons for that. So I don't want to just get angry at them for not, devoting all their time to me. But yeah, most of like the really awful people in this industry, at least in this area, I've only heard the stories. I haven't had any firsthand experience as of yet, but I've heard some pretty awful stories that there can be, some pretty terrible people. I've heard, I worked with one guy. He was a sound guy. He actually worked on the short that I shot. And I was talking with him. He worked on a feature film, And yeah, I guess he was a boom operator, and the guy that was in charge of sound, I guess, was just crazy. And I guess at one point he would like just yell constantly, be just verbally abusive to everyone around him. And I guess there was an occasion, yeah, where he got so mad. This guy that was the boom operator, he actually slapped him across the face. This sound guy did. And the boom guy that I was talking to, who did the sound for my short, was saying just like he almost just lost it in that moment, just because this guy was such a douche, and yeah, actually physically assaulted him on a set. I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine being in that situation. That'd be awful. And then I found out they kept talking about it, and apparently the guy, after the production was over, he got arrested for like sexually assaulting somebody, and he's in jail now. And this guy worked on a movie. That's insane to me. And yeah, whatever this guy did, it took place during the production. So you got to watch out. You got to be careful. Yeah, the people that you work with sometimes. It's kind of scary. But at least from my experience, I've met a lot of really cool people as well. So it's a mix. You just got to be careful. Film Persona. There is a teaser for House That Jack Built. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up when this is over. And it might have to be a short one. I don't know how long I've been going. 27 minutes. All right, we can keep going, but this probably won't be a multiple hour stream. I was kind of hoping, yeah, to get some writing done and some other stuff. So I might make this one a short one. Kuha, don't want my love of film to be ruined. Yeah, when you actually try to do it, maybe that is part of the reason why I just haven't been seeing very many movies lately either, just because I just want to make my own stuff right now. And it's so heartbreaking to look at other people who are actively doing it. And at least the perception is they seem to have such an easy time getting it done. And it's never easy. You know, every movie, people have to struggle for years and years getting anything made. But just when you look at a movie up there on screen, you think just like, it's so easy. They can do it. They don't have any trouble doing it. And I'm just here doing nothing. But I don't know. It's just been, I just haven't found myself emotionally able to really go see movies like I once was. Now that I'm trying to do it myself, it's just like, oh, I can't do it. I just wanna make my things. I just want to make the ones I want to make. Drake Avila. There was a recent interview with Lars von Trier, and he stated he wasn't happy and did not feel well when filming House That Jack Built. So Lars von Trier's next project will be a series of 10-minute short films, not lose interest in the work. I have heard about that because, yeah, I think he recently got treatment for addiction, didn't he? Because he was saying that like he used to drink heavily in order to be able to write his scripts. That's what I read, at least in this interview he gave a little while back. I think before House That Jack Built, he was saying he finally got sober before going into that movie. And then I guess once he started the writing process and the production process for House That Jack Built, he said that he started drinking again. And yeah, last interview I read, it was something like that. I didn't hear about the short films, but I did read something where he was saying like, yeah, that his depression kind of came back once he started drinking again. And then, yeah, his physical health just started deteriorating again. And he was saying he just felt horrible, and he just didn't know if he had it in him just to physically be able to continue making movies because he couldn't seem to do it any other way, which is understandable. You know, if you're really destroying yourself trying to make something, it's like, gosh, how much can you really do that to yourself? And how much is it really going to be worth it? So I don't know. I feel bad for Von Trier. I hope he's able to get sober and stay sober and is able to, you know, create sober. But I don't know, for a guy like that, it seems to be pretty tough when he's just constantly pushing himself to such extreme places. I don't know. He's a great filmmaker though, but yeah, I hope he can, I just hope he can, you know, put his life together into something that makes him happy. But that's a tall order, you know. Figuring out how to be happy in life, I think, is even more difficult than figuring out how to make a movie. Kuhad, if you can do your own thing on your own terms, though, go for it. absolutely. But it takes a lot of determination. You kind of have to be, you have to be one of those ones like a Robert Rodriguez or a Shane Carruth, where you're so determined that like if you can't get something together, then it's just like, all right, well, I'll do it myself. I'll teach myself how to compose music. I'll teach myself how to design a soundtrack. I'll teach myself, you know, how to do production design, or I'll teach myself how to code a CGI effect to get this thing that I want. I don't know if I'm that determined. I really just want to work with other people that can help me with these other things. I guess because I'm kind of a perfectionist with a lot of stuff. So even just writing a script or directing or editing, it's just I'm so intensely self-critical with everything I try to put down that getting myself to actually do it is really difficult, just because everything I write, it's just like, oh, this is terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. I try to edit. That's a horrible edit. I don't know what I'm doing. If I can have other people, it's a lot easier. But I mean, it's also harder because you have to coordinate and you have to get people together and you have to get people that you creatively click with. And yeah, making myself do it, I'm so relentlessly self-critical that I kind of get myself to a point where I'm not able to continue, unfortunately. But I don't know, maybe that's just my own little roadblock I have to get over, you know? I'm going to keep trying, so you can only get better as time goes on, you know? Filmmaking is one of those things. It's not like sports or anything like that. It's mostly mental and creative. So the older you get, the better you can get. You know, all of your problems, all of the things you have difficulty with, you can more or less learn to deal with those or cope with those or kind of figure out your own way around them. Definitely for me, when I moved here initially, it was just like I was so shy and it was so difficult to network. But over time, I've kind of gotten better at that. Now I'm not good at it by any means, but now I'm at least more comfortable, you know, talking with people, you know, about a script or kind of having a creative discussion or just, you know, trying to network and say like, hey, I'm a filmmaker. Hey, here's my card. Hey, you know, contact me if you need anything. I'm at least able to do that now. So that's something. I'm at least one tiny step further than where I was a couple months ago. I guess I just have to focus on that, the progress rather than the lack of progress, however small it is. Hank Romento, do you think Psyche and Climax are two different projects? I still can't figure it out. It sounds like Climax is Psyche, because I remember reading about Psyche when it was in pre-production, which seemed like just a couple months ago. It seemed like Noé put this one together really fast. But Psyche was going to be about, it was going to take place in the 90s. It was about like a dance troupe that goes to like a cabin in the woods, basically, and they all drink sangria spiked with LSD and go on this satanic inner psychological journey and have like this group freak out. And that is exactly what Climax is. So I think it was just simply a title change. I think Psyche is now Climax. They're the same thing as far as I've been able to tell, unless he's making two movies about the exact same thing under different titles, which I don't think is very likely. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty certain Climax and Psyche are the same thing. My Cinematic Self. Hello, Henry. Been a longtime fan of yours since the 964 Pinocchio and Electric Dragon days. Wow. Been a big fan of those since my teen years. So seeing someone who appreciated them as I did was great. Yes. I'm glad you appreciate those movies as well, because it seems like those videos still don't have very many views, but I'm still such a fan of them. And yeah, I'm trying to discover more like Japanese movies like that, of the cyberpunk kind of stuff, or the avant-garde sci-fi. It's such an exciting genre to me. I'd love to do something in that kind of vein, you know, really crazy and intense and visceral and just with a lot of wild ideas driving it. I'd love to do movies like that, and there just aren't many movies like that. You know, it was such an underground thing, the Japanese cyberpunk movement. But every time I find one, I'm always just like really blown away by it and so excited by just the originality and the visceral intensity. But yeah, I do really enjoy those movies, and I'm glad you do as well. Thanks for watching my dumb videos. Oh, My Cinematic Self. Also, House That Jack Built has like a 10-second teaser, and holy crap. Got to see this thing, apparently. my cinematic self. Lastly, if you ever bring back, I keep getting beeps on my phone. If you ever bring back Cult Sandwich, I'd be stoked. I'd be stoked, and I recommend the works of Hitoshi Matsumoto, such as Symbol and R1000, some of the weirdest comedies ever, and seem very much for you. I have a recommendation list. It's been a while since I've busted it out. I think it's still here somewhere. What is this? I'm not sure where it went. I guess I can use this. Got notepads everywhere. Okay, Hitoshi Matsumoto. I have never heard of him. I'll write him down though. Who keeps texting me? Nobody texts me. Hitoshi Matsumoto. I'll write down those two as well. Symbol and R100. Okay. Yeah, speaking of Japanese movies, there was one I just discovered recently. I haven't seen it, but it's like this crazy Japanese cult movie that I'd never heard of, but it was apparently this really controversial film in like the 80s. It was called Village of Doom. It was based on this true story of a mass murder that took place, I think in the late 19th century in Japan, in like this remote Japanese village. It was one of the most like devastating mass murders in the country's history. It was like this guy that killed like 30 people in under an hour. It was crazy. And the really wild thing about the movie too is that it was made by a major studio, and it was the guy that they got to make it. He was like a former porno director or something. So it's got all this really crazy like sex and nudity in it. And then at the end, when the recreation of the event happens, I listened to an interview. I just started listening to this podcast called Postmortem with Mick Garris. And it's Mick Garris like interviewing all these horror filmmakers. And he interviewed this Japanese filmmaker. It was the guy that made like that movie Versus and Midnight Meat Train. And he was just talking about all his like favorite like Japanese horror movies or kind of like cult movies that are kind of more obscure. And he started talking about Village of Doom. And he was saying he saw it in theaters when he was a kid in the 80s. And he was saying how like at the end, the climax, it just goes like full on splatter film, like exploding heads, like insanely violent. And he was just saying he'd never seen anything like that. And still to this day, it's kind of like, it's shocking that this was a movie made by a major studio, and it's just this crazy like exploitation film essentially. And I looked it up, and it seems like it's kind of hard to find, but we have Movie Madness in Portland, Northeast Portland, and they have just about everything there. It's one of the few like video rental shops still in business. So I was thinking about going there one day soon and trying to find it there, because that definitely piqued my interest. Village of Doom, for anyone who's interested. I think that's one I'm going to try and see. It sounds pretty wild. I think there were some other ones he mentioned too, but I've never heard of Hitoshi Matsumoto, but I'll have to look him up. Oh, Drake Avila. Oh, okay. This is related to the Lars von Trier thing. His next project will be a series of 10-minute short films, not to lose interest in the work, named Etudes, or so Lars von Trier has stated. But he is a prankster, so he might just do something else. LOL. Very possible. Kuhad. Yeah, well, you seem like a nice, decent, honest guy, which works against you in a money-oriented industry. Sometimes it does. I don't know. I don't want to be too cynical about it. It seems like there are people in the industry that have managed to really thrive and remain decent, honest people. You know, like Guillermo del Toro. He seems just like the nicest, most honest guy there is. And he's definitely had his struggles. He's got, you know, probably far more films unmade than he actually has made in his career. And it's definitely been a really long, difficult journey for him over the decades, you know, he's been trying to do stuff. But it seems like he's never really sacrificed his integrity. He's never really let himself become jaded or cynical. he's remained just as enthusiastic and just as passionate, you know, today as he was when he was first starting out, and has still just remained just a decent, friendly guy. And it took a while, but I think it's finally paid off for him. You know, now he's an Oscar winner, and that's great. I couldn't be happier for the guy. And he really did it on his own terms, which is tough, but I mean, to see somebody actually pull it off is really inspiring. Like, Del Toro's long been an inspiration for me. And yeah, especially now seeing kind of where he is now and how he hasn't really sacrificed any of that integrity that he came into the business with is even more inspiring to me now. You just gotta, I don't know, I guess you just gotta stick with it. You gotta stay determined. You gotta stay focused and stay passionate and stay constantly hungry and moving forward, and not just focusing on the failures of the past and, you know, and getting angry and bitter over those, but just constantly thinking about what's the next thing, you know, how am I moving forward, not moving backward. It's a good approach, I think. It's gotten Guillermo del Toro this far, so it must work. Hank Remento, just watched the Climax trailer. I think we're in for something much more ensemble focused than he's done before. Yeah, it is. It does seem to be focused on kind of a whole group of people rather than any one individual, which will be interesting. And it looks like it's kind of got a Zulovsky feel as well, like some kind of like possession influenced sort of psychological intensity of people just thrashing and freaking out, you know, which I think will be interesting. Whoops. Oh, Drake Avila. Henry, did you watch The Square and Happy End from Ruben Östlund and Michael Haneke, respectively? It was a year ago. They were at Cannes. Just wondering what you think of them. I have not seen either of those, though I did see The Square is streaming on Hulu now, but I have yet to watch it. It's on my list, though. I did, however, rewatch Östlund's previous movie, Force Majeure. I'd seen that once years ago, and I remembered liking it, but I didn't really remember anything from it. And I saw it was on Hulu, and I was just like, I'll watch this again. Why not? And I put it on. God, what a great film that is. It really is such a masterpiece. Just like the directing, the photography, the way just like every scene kind of plays out just in one single, almost static shot, I want to say. I can't think of very much camera movement. I can only recall very few edits like within the context of a scene, but just the control of it, the control and the direction, the brilliance of the writing, how it develops and escalates all of those situations, the brilliance of the actors who, you know, play on that discomfort so well, and that tension that builds underneath the surface with everything that they're not saying to each other. It's so good. That really is such a great movie. I'd forgotten how great it was until I rewatched it, but that is a terrific film. Anybody who's never seen it, I highly recommend it. Force Majeure. And I'm definitely going to have to see The Square. That won the Palme d'Or last year, didn't it? It was kind of a surprise from what I remember that nobody was really expecting it to win, but I think it won, if I'm not mistaken. The Square won the Palme d'Or. Pretty sure. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check that one out. Kuhad, good place to start is to produce a music video for a local band. Shoot it and edit it. You'll at least have something to show, and it will probably lead to more work. Let's hope so. I might have to look into that. I don't know any bands locally, though. I might have to look into that. I'm going to have to start. One idea I had is I'm just going to start sending emails out, you know, to people in the OMPA book, and maybe just start asking people, you know, hey, do you know anybody who's trying to be a filmmaker? Do you know anybody, who's a writer, this, that? Just, you know, start asking people, like my coworkers, you know, people I meet in movie theaters. I mean, you never know. I'm kind of desperate at this point. Any connection I can make, I'll take it. Kubrick Lover. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to? Volstix and I are going to be talking to each other in a private Google call, ooh, hubba hubba, around 4 p.m. Eastern time. What have I been up to? I've just been, you know, trying to get movies made, trying to jumpstart the film career, and not having a very good time at it. And yeah, just kind of spontaneously decided to do a live stream today. And I think I will continue, continue trying to post videos on the channel. I'll try to stream once a week. That's not a guarantee with the job I have right now, for anybody who missed what I was saying earlier. No guarantee that I'll be able to live stream every week. If I do, it'll probably be on inconsistent days at inconsistent times, but I'll see what I can do, and I'm going to try and continue actively working on unmade masterpieces. Try to post those as often as I can. So maybe once every month or two, hopefully. But yeah, I'm probably going to start working on an episode on Man Who Killed Don Quixote next. Get that out of the way. And whatever else happens to develop on that in the next couple of weeks. And then, I'll probably try and finish work on Dune. So yeah, don't know when those will get posted, but I'm going to try, setting aside some time every day now to make sure I get some editing done on those. Mohi, oh, Henry, I discovered my love for Gus Van Sant. Great director. Portland local. He's around here somewhere. I haven't seen him yet, but I'm hoping I bump into him. I even watched Last Days twice. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. Haven't watched the ones without his own script. Not sure I would like them as much as the others. What do you think? I'm a big fan of Gus Van Sant. I think he's one of those directors that has really managed to find a good way to balance kind of doing larger like studio stuff, like stuff where he's kind of a director for hire, and balancing that with his more kind of artsy, experimental, esoteric kind of stuff. And I think he has a really interesting balance. I think all of his works have something interesting behind them. Like, I was a fan of Good Will Hunting and Finding Forrester. I think those are really good movies. They're, a different kind of movie, but I think for what they are, just as good. And then, to compare that with stuff like Paranoid Park or Last Days or Elephant or Jerry, which I was a big fan of, it's really fascinating to realize that this is the same guy making all those kinds of movies. And I'm a huge fan of his early work, like Drugstore Cowboy, which was shot in Portland. I've actually been to several of the locations that Drugstore Cowboy shot at, like the drugstore at the beginning of Drugstore Cowboy, where they perform their first heist, or at least the first one you see on screen, where Matt Dillon's kind of like behind the counter, like grabbing all the pill bottles. I've been to that building. It's no longer a drugstore. It's now like a sports bar, I think, something like that. But I've been there, and I've seen the fountain that he drinks at before he goes in there. I drank from it. Same fountain. And Mala Noche is a great one. I've seen some of the streets that one was shot on. My Own Private Idaho, obviously, masterpiece. I have the Blu-ray of that one. Watched it again a couple months back. Was blown away by it all over again. I always forget how great that film is. But I think just about everything from Gus Van Sant is worth watching in one way or another. Like, I think I'm one of the few people that is a fan of his Psycho remake. I thought that was a really interesting experiment, basically remaking a film shot for shot, but just in a different decade with different actors. I was kind of fascinated by that. I thought his Psycho had kind of a creepy sort of atmosphere to it. And gosh, I'm trying to think what else. He's got a new one coming out too that is like a biographical film starring Joaquin Phoenix as a guy who he's in like an accident, and he kind of finds therapy through like creating cartoons or something. It's based on a real guy. I forget his name. But that one's getting ready to come out, I know, and it sounds interesting. And I'm just a fan of Gus Van Sant. I think he's got some kind of weak spots in his filmography, like that movie Restless I wasn't a big fan of, or what was the Matt Damon one? Promised Land, and like a couple others that I'm kind of like, not crazy about. But I think all of them they have something interesting behind them, some kind of interesting idea, some kind of unconventional take. But I think all of his work is really interesting and worth diving into if you haven't yet. One of the few Gus Van Sant movies I haven't seen too is Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, which is one he did kind of fairly early in his career. But the book I am currently reading happens to be Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. And it's a great book. This is one of the funniest, most visionary, genius books I've ever read in my life. I highly recommend this to anybody who's a fan of eccentric novels. And yeah, I'm about halfway through that one, and it's making me very interested to see the film adaptation, which I've heard is terrible. It got really bad reviews, but I've never seen it, so I can't say for myself, and I'd like to see it for myself to judge for myself. But I love the book, and I'm really curious to see the movie now. Kasigan, why such a long break, man? And suggest some great crime thrillers, bro, to watch. I don't know. Why such a long break? Just wanted to focus on other stuff. I can't really say anything more than that, you know? I was getting kind of frustrated with the channel and wanted to, yeah, focus on trying to make films, which is what I've always wanted to do. And that's not going so well. So, you know, I just decided, well, let's get back to the channel. Why not? Good for you know, hanging out with like-minded people, film fans, have a good time for a couple hours. And yeah, I just got to get myself back into editing, you know, editing videos and stuff. But, you know, it was, when I stopped, it was kind of getting to the point where I was having to force myself to do it every day just because there was other stuff I wanted to do. You know, YouTube videos are not really my passion in life. So it was kind of something I was just having to force myself to do a lot of the time. And yeah, I just decided, like, you know what, I need to take some time away from this, figure things out. And I have, and I still haven't really figured anything out, but I'm going to try and continue doing stuff with the channel and continue trying to pursue the film career. We'll see what happens, though. You never can tell. The future's not ours to see. Mohi. Oh, wait. Suggest some great crime thrillers. That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of the last crime thriller I saw. Wind River by, who's the guy that did that? I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that wrote Sicario and Hell or High Water. Taylor Sheridan, I think his name is. But he wrote and directed his first directorial effort, Wind River, which was really good. I saw that one on Netflix not too long ago and was very impressed by it. So there's a recommendation. And there's one by this fairly new directing team. I think they're the Nelms brothers. I can't remember exactly, but they just did a movie called Small Town Crime with like John Hawkes and Robert Forster and I think Danny Glover, a couple of other like really good actors in this ensemble piece. It's called Small Town Crime. I haven't seen it, but I've been hearing really good things about it. It's been one that's kind of been on my radar for a little while, and I really want to see it. But I've heard it's excellent, so maybe that's one to recommend to you as well. Small Town Crime and Wind River, if you haven't seen it yet. Mohi, by the way, have you watched The House? Probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. Is that the Japanese one? Nobuhiko Obayashi. If you're talking about this one, yes, I have seen it multiple times. If you're talking about something else, you'll have to clarify that. But yeah, this is a crazy movie, if indeed it is the one you're talking about. That director also, Nobuhiko Obayashi, he also did a version of the, what is her name? Abe Sada. He did a version of the Abe Sada story, which is the real-life story that inspired Nagisa Oshima's In the Realm of the Senses. That is a film about Abe Sada and her infamous relationship with a man that she ended up killing. And believe it or not, Nobuhiko Obayashi, I think in the 80s, he also directed a version of that story, which is crazy. It's not as graphic. It's not as explicit as Oshima's version. And it's a lot weirder. It's a lot more eccentric, and it's a lot more comedic in tone. But it's an interesting movie. I saw it on Criterion's Hulu channel way back when. I'd imagine now it's on Filmstruck, probably. I think it's just called Sada. But that one's worth checking out if you're a fan of House or crazy Japanese movies. Yeah, I don't think Obayashi, I don't know how many movies he's made, but I know only very few of them are available in the United States. I wish there were more because he's such a crazed eccentric. He's like no other director out there, but I'd like to see more of his stuff. Oh, Owen Moore. I know you asked him, but Milk is phenomenal. Definitely worth a watch. Yes, I can't believe I forgot that one. But yeah, Gus Van Sant's Milk is an excellent, excellent movie. Definitely worth seeing. Drake Avila, yes. Oh, The Square did win the Palme d'Or last year. Aha, I knew it. Kind of, more or less. Kuhad, Portland has a massive music scene. You could email bands or go to gigs. Not a bad idea. I'm going to have to start doing that. Yeah, wouldn't take much effort just to look up when some gigs are going to go down in the Portland area and just show up there, hand out some cards. Not a bad idea. I'm going to have to, yeah, just motivate myself to do that. It's hard when you get depressed throughout the day, though. Roy O'Connor, what films from 2018 have you seen? Thoughts on Black Panther? I missed Black Panther. Or it might still be playing. I don't know, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Black Panther. What was the other one? I can't remember. But I didn't see Black Panther. There's a lot of other stuff I missed. I really want to see You Were Never Really Here, the Lynn Ramsey movie, her new one. Last one I saw, I think, was Ready Player One, which I did like. I think the only 2018 movies I've seen have been Annihilation by Alex Garland, which I thought was great, and Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg, which I also thought was great. I don't know how all of you here felt about it, but I was pretty legitimately impressed by it. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did, but I thought it was really one of Spielberg's best. I had a great time at that one. Kuhad, also you were great at critiquing films. Thank you. You could probably get work writing film reviews. Maybe, I don't know. That's another one. I wouldn't really know where to begin on that one. And it's also just, I don't know. Reviewing movies is not really my passion. You know, it's not really something that I'm just charged and motivated to go out there and do constantly. You know, I kind of have to force myself to like write a review or do a video review. It's just not something that really drives me, you know, but I don't know. Maybe worth looking into. I don't know. Polygon Elephant, FTW. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I'm so behind on all of this stuff. F for the win, maybe? It's a great movie, so hopefully that's a positive thing. Kasigan, it is hard to get out. It is hard to get out into the filmmaking market without connections. Oh, is it hard to get out into the filmmaking market without connections or a filmmaking degree? It's always hard. I mean, even if you have connections, even if you have a filmmaking degree, it's still going to be hard. So I would say, I don't know what your current status is, Kasigan, if you're in film school or whatever, but I think the best experience is just the experience of being on a film set, either seeing somebody make a movie or making a movie yourself. So if you got money set aside for film school, I would say just use that money to try and get a movie made. I think that is a piece of advice I wish I would have followed. But if you're in film school, there's nothing wrong with that. You could still use that as a, you know, a way to network, a way to meet people and get people kind of on your crew of collaborators. But I think just the main thing should be just try and get stuff made. You know, that there's no replacement for that kind of experience. And I can say from my own personal experience, I've learned so much more from just being on sets and trying to make my own movies than I ever did at film school or anywhere else. So just try to make movies. It's going to be tough no matter what you do. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the more people you'll meet, you know, try to get stuff playing at festivals. That's really all you can do. If I knew how to get like a really successful film career going, I would be trying to do that myself. But yeah, right now, the best advice I can give you is to just try to make stuff, get it out there, and see what happens. There's never any guarantees, no matter what degree you have, what connections you have. There's never a guarantee. You just kind of got to make stuff and put it out there. That's the best thing you can do. That's the only thing you can do. I don't know what else you can do besides that. So yeah, just get out there. Just do it, man. Just make it happen. Kuhad, My Own Private Idaho is brilliant. Nothing but agreement here. Yeah, that's a masterpiece. Great film. Maybe Van Sant's best. That's a tough one. He's got a lot of great ones, but My Own Private Idaho might be my favorite of his. I wonder what's... I'm just going to check my phone real quick to see what I'm getting. Oh. Some texts from Jace. Yes. Jace Daniels, local Portland filmmaker that I've been kind of trying to do some collaborations with. He's got a film out there called Tomorrow Maybe, his first feature film. If anybody's interested, I recommend going to check that one out. I don't know if it's got distribution yet. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I think he's trying to get it out there. So maybe keep an eye out for that one. And he's in the process of shooting one right now. And tomorrow, I am going to go help him make that one. I think because he's also acting in it, so I think I'm going to be kind of like an assistant director tomorrow, just kind of helping him get some angles and stuff. So that sounds like it'll be fun. I'll enjoy just, being able to make a movie for a change. It's better than just sitting around. So yeah, looking forward to that. And everyone out there, keep an eye out for Jace Daniels. Hopefully stuff is getting ready to take off for him, and he'll be able to drag me along with him. That'd be convenient. Roy O'Connor, I want to explore my creative side a bit more this summer. What is your advice? Well, like I said to Kasigan, just making stuff. I don't know what your particular passion is. If it's drawing, I would say, just start drawing stuff. If it's writing, start writing stuff. And if it's filmmaking, start making films. I don't know if you want to make documentaries or narrative films, but kind of something I'm recently starting to learn is that you really just want to kind of have a process where you're kind of doing the thing you want to do, and even if it's bad, you're still doing it, and the less critical you can be of yourself in the moment, the better. So I would say, try and get to that place where, say, if you're writing something, don't edit yourself as you're writing, just write and try to tap into something creative where you're just, letting ideas flow, and you're cutting off that filter that, where you're telling yourself, oh, that's not good. Oh, I shouldn't write that. You're just kind of putting everything out there on the page, and then you're looking at it afterwards, and you're editing, and you're deciding, oh, that's a bad idea. That's bad. But just get to that place where you're in a purely creative zone, where you're not in a judgmental, self-critical zone. You're just in a purely creative zone where you're letting all of your ideas come out completely unfiltered. That's the best advice I can give you, is just don't edit yourself in the moment. Whatever you're creating, don't edit it in the moment. Just let it all come out, and then take a more critical look at it later on. That's I think the best advice I can give you. Mr. Putler Gollum, I'm finally watching Twin Peaks. Now I have to buy some weed. I think it's a movie. It's a show that will, blow your mind whether you're stoned or not. I watched it completely sober, and it still messed with me. Kuhad, Twin Peaks is way better stoned. I'm sure you're speaking from experience. I've only seen it sober, so I can't say. Ooh, and Kuhad, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues is a stinker. That stinks. Oh well, I still want to see it just to be able to judge for myself. Roy O'Connor, have you seen A Wrinkle in Time? I did not see that one. Cannot speak. I heard or I saw that it didn't get very good reviews, which of course is no final judge on a movie. It's all subjective. You got to see for yourself, judge for yourself. But yeah, I was kind of bummed that one got such a negative reception. It's kind of a bummer. Yeah, that was Ava DuVernay's like big thing, and it didn't seem to do so well. That's kind of a bummer. But oh well, I'm sure she'll move on to the next thing, you know. And I do kind of want to see it, judge it for myself. Who knows? I might enjoy it. Polygon, the newest movie by Gus with Joaquin Phoenix, is called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. Quite a title. Mohi, My Own Private Idaho is my favorite too. I even cried the first time I watched it. So sad the actor died so young. Yeah, River Phoenix. Very, very tragic story. Yeah, very famous story too. But yeah, he was a great actor. It's heartbreaking. You see how good he was. And that, yeah, he had to die so young. It's a bummer, guys. It's a bummer. Kuhad, best crime thrillers, Singapore Sling. I think somebody's recommended that one to me before, but I haven't seen it yet. I'll write it down again, though. Singapore Sling. Whoa. Lost my pen. There we go. Drake Avila, Olivier Assayas's Carlos is a grueling and exhausting political crime thriller. That is a really good one. Yeah, Carlos, it's a huge movie. It's like 5 hours, but it is a pretty impressive piece of filmmaking, I have to admit. I tried watching it once, and it was just too much for me. I couldn't get through the whole thing, but I watched it again like a couple years later. I can't remember how long ago this was, but on the second viewing, I was able to get into it, and I was really impressed by it the second time around, going through the whole thing. It's a sprawling epic. It's really an incredible achievement. And it is on Criterion for anybody who's interested. So yeah, worth checking out. Yeah, if you like political crime thrillers, this is quite a massive one. Shubham Nauni, hey man, long time no see. Have you seen Kali Blues by G. Gon? It had a 45-minute long take. Probably the best debut in a decade. His new film just had a screening at Cannes, Long Day's Journey into Night. Interesting. I have not seen Kali Blues, but I'll write it down. Kali Blues by G. Gon. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that filmmaker, but I will have to look them up. Mr. Putler Gollum, can somebody recommend weird cringe comedy, not Napoleon Dynamite? I like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Oh, and Shubham Nani corrected himself. Bigan, B-I-G-A-N. Okay, thank you. I will correct that. There we go. All right, good. Weird cringe comedy. That's a tough one. I'm sure you know about The Office. That's like, yeah, both the British and the American version are kind of like cringe comedy taken as far as they can go, essentially. Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy. That sort of invented cringe comedy. If you haven't seen that one, that is definitely worth checking out. That one goes to some incredibly uncomfortable places. Oh, and I just saw one recently. It was from 2017. After I watched it, it was one that kind of went completely under the radar. It got kind of poor reviews, didn't really get much of a distribution, but I just happened to stumble upon it on Hulu, and I watched it. It's now become one of my favorites from last year. Maybe one of my favorite films of all time. I was just blown away by this movie, but it's called Lemon. It stars Brett Gelman and Judy Greer, and it's got like this whole ensemble of cameos, like Megan Mullally and what's her name? Jillian Jacobs, I think. She's in a ton of stuff now. Michael Cera. Gosh, I know a couple others too, but it is one of the darkest, most uncomfortable, most confrontational, cringiest comedies I've ever seen. But it is just, it is a work of genius. I was so blown away by this movie. I was so blown away by it. I was not expecting any of it. I just started it and I was so absorbed, so deeply absorbed by it. But it was written by Brett Gelman, who's he's a comedian. I think he's done some stuff on Adult Swim. You see him pop up here and there, but it's a movie that he co-wrote with his wife. Her name is Jaliska Bravo, I think. I'm probably getting that wrong, but this is her directorial debut. She was like a photographer, I guess. And yeah, she and her husband, Brett Gelman, co-wrote this movie, and she directed it. It's her first movie. Brett Gelman stars in it, and it's basically just about this. It's basically just kind of like this really dark, satirical takedown of Los Angeles and the entertainment industry. It's about this guy. He's kind of like a middle-aged wash-up, still trying to, break into the acting industry, just has no hope. And just kind of gets lonelier and lonelier and more desperate as the story goes along, and just kind of keeps putting himself into these more and more uncomfortable and just awful situations where he's trying to connect with people and just getting it so wrong. But it's one of the most painful, dark, cringiest comedies I've ever seen, but it is genius. The directing, the cinematography, the writing are unbelievable. Like the movie's done in these really long extended shots. The anamorphic the framing and the way the shots are composed and the colors and the cinematography, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, so beautifully shot. Such genius direction and just such incredible writing that just goes to the most uncomfortable places. But if you're looking for weird cringe comedy, Lemon is definitely worth checking out. I was amazed by that movie. I thought it was genius. And don't believe the reviews. It's got really bad reviews. Not a lot of people get it. Not a lot of people like it, but it's genius. So check it out. Lemon. Kubrick Lover, have you heard of the website SoundCloud? I think you can get somebody to do music for your film on there. I remember a film festival I went to where the director and composer met for the first time at the festival, completing the film together online. I'm not surprised. That's kind of, filmmaking seems to, have moved in that direction. I remember, just like reading interviews with Sean Baker and like how he made like Tangerine and Florida Project, how he did most of his casting on those movies just with social media. Like the woman who plays the mom in Florida Project, he found her just on Instagram. She had like a couple thousand followers on Instagram, and his casting director saw her profile and went to him and said, like, she's kind of interesting. Like, what do you think about her for playing the mom? And he was just like, oh yeah, let's meet her, see if she can act. And they met her, and she just was a natural. And they like put her through acting classes and improv classes so that she could work with the kids and kind of in the style that he was going to shoot the movie. And she got cast that way off of Instagram. So it's like, wow, that's how movies get made now, just with social media and the internet and the channels available there now. But I have heard of SoundCloud. I have yet to utilize it. But my brother's actually kind of teaching himself music right now too. He started doing all of the music for their show, movie review show. All of the music, is composed by my brother. He's just been teaching himself how to do that stuff. And he's been taking piano lessons. He's getting really good. I'm pretty impressed. So I might get him to, if I need music, I might get him to do some of that. Dominique Dotzler. Sup, Henry? Sup, Dominique? Would you ever show some of your homemade movies? You can see them online. They are on YouTube. You can find them if you look. I did one in high school, which I was proud of for so many years, and looking back on it, it's kind of embarrassing, but it is still on YouTube. It's called Tsunami Oregon. I did that for a science project. The assignment was, it was kind of like a creative exercise. We had to do research on, because we lived in Coos Bay, That's where I was born and raised and where I went to school. And we were studying tsunamis in a science class, and we had to do a project, or it was like a creative assignment. We had to write a paper, like a narrative short story about what it would be like if a tsunami hit Coos Bay, Oregon. So we would talk about like what fault line ruptured and what caused the tsunami, how the town reacted, how would people survive, what would the reaction be. And I didn't really want to write a short story, so I asked if I could do a movie. And I ended up doing a movie trailer. It was like a movie trailer for a disaster movie about a tsunami hitting Coos Bay, Oregon. And I did it as a movie trailer. And I used like music from, I think it was 24, the TV show, something like that. I don't know. I just found it and I put it on there. And I spent a while working on it, like editing and shooting and going all around town. And I ended up getting like extra credit on the assignment because the teacher was so impressed with what I did. But, you know, it's a high school thing. It's not that impressive. But if you want to see it, I think it should just be under Tsunami Oregon. I think my friend Andy Moe uploaded it. But yeah, you can look that up if you want to and watch it. It is on there. And I know a bunch of other stuff is too. I think on my brother's channel, Dana Henson, I think on one of his channels, a bunch of our home movies are uploaded too, which are all horrible, but you can watch them if you want. Kubrick lovers, speaking of doing few film reviews on your channel, I've only done 3 myself on Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, Decalogue, and Repulsion. Did you just do those? I'll have to check those out. Very cool. Kubrick lover doing reviews. Yeah, I'll have to look into those. Are you still doing them? Hopefully you are. And Kubrick lovers. So were you saying you regret going to film school? I'm not trying to be offensive. I wouldn't say I regret it. I think overall I did learn from the experience, but it was kind of a disaster. There are a lot of things I regret about film school too. If I had been, I don't know, it was such a disillusioning experience for me. I pictured filmmaking being very different. And then when I got into like the actual environment of trying to do it, it was so far off from what I pictured in my head that, yeah, the disillusionment hit me pretty hard and sent me into the deepest depression I've ever experienced in my life, like full on like suicidal depression. And it took me a long time to recover from that. And I ended up dropping out of film school. And so that was basically like, I didn't even get anything to show for my experiences of being at film school. So it was basically like 20 grand I flushed down the toilet with that whole experience. But I did learn from it. I did, gain some valuable experience from it. But looking back, I wish I had that 20 grand back. And I wish I could have just used it, maybe buying a tripod, a camera, made a movie. I think that would have been a better use of that time and money. But, live and learn. It's all about moving forward, right? I can't just spend all my time regretting that. It's done. It's in the past. And I just got to move forward, not make those same mistakes again. Oh, Kubrick lover. Well, see you, Disregarding Henry. It's about 4. I'll be off your stream because I will be talking to Volstix. Have a good one, Kubrick lover. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. More or less. Good to see your text on a screen. You know what I mean. Have a good time. Kasiga, name your favorite 5 distinct style directors, like Lynch, Harmony Korine, etc. Tough question. Distinct style directors. I'd have to really think about that one. I think definitely Harmony Korine is up there. I'm really trying to think now. Park Chan-wook, I think, is pretty high up there. He's one I can just go back to again and again and again and still just be impressed by his originality and his genius. Like the Vengeance trilogy, The Handmaiden, Thirst, his vampire movie, which is still one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, all of those are pretty high up there on my list. So definitely Park Chan-wook. I think definitely Harmony Korine. He's an endless source of inspiration for me. Probably Matthew Kasovitz. even though I'm really just thinking of one film in particular. You all probably know what it is, if I can find it. Oh, yeah, La Haine. Brilliant movie. One of the best directed films I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, one that endlessly inspires me. Yeah, he's directed a couple others. He did one, speaking of crime thrillers, he did one with Vincent Cassel and John Reno called The Crimson Rivers, which I thought was pretty good. It's wild. It's not very realistic, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Crimson Rivers. And then he kind of came to Hollywood, did a few American films like Gothica and Babylon AD, which were not very good. And then recently went back to France, and I think has started making French movies again. But he does most of his work as an actor. I think he was actually in Michael Haneke's new film, Happy End. But I don't think he's directed anything in a little while. But his debut, La Haine, is one of the best made films I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Every shot in that movie is a masterpiece. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then maybe, yeah, probably Paul Thomas Anderson would be on there. Yeah, just his writing style, his way of creating characters and dialogue, and kind of his confidence, kind of just in picking shots and letting them play out. His way of not really rushing a narrative forward. But also at the same time, just like giving certain sequences like incredible energy of just constant camera movement and editing and tracking shots, and just, yeah, the amazing complexity he's able to create in his tracking shots and his extended takes. Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson is always a continuing influence on me. How many is that? Matthew Kassovitz, Harmony Korine, Paul Thomas Anderson, Park Chan-wook. Can I come up with one more? Well, maybe Gaspar Noé, or maybe Lars von Trier. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm trying to think if there are any others. I don't want to just say the same names over and over again. I don't know. Maybe Leos Carax. He's another one that's been a real influence on me. Somebody who just like, who kind of directs from a place of pure, just passionate abandon. His movies are so wild and so untamed and just seem to follow none of the traditional rules. And I always get so excited when I see filmmakers like that are just disregarding all of the rules completely and making up their own. So yeah, maybe Leos Carax, or no, Werner Herzog. He was kind of like one of the directors that first got me into movies and made me want to be a director. And he's still a huge influence on me. So yeah, I got to say Werner Herzog, but Leos Carax is up there still. Lovers on the Bridge, brilliant movie. I even like Pola X. Holy Motors is great. I'm so looking forward to his new one, whatever it's called. I forget. But it has Adam Driver in it, and it's like a musical, and the Sparks are doing all the music for it. I'm really looking forward to that one. And I kicked my desk in my excitement. But I think that's a pretty good list. Werner Herzog, definitely. Harmony Korine, Park Chan-wook, Matthew Kassovitz. Who else did I say? I forget the other one. But I said it. You all know. Remind me. I can't believe I forgot already. There's so many, though. So many filmmakers, so many films. I recently watched a movie about this is Mohi. I recently watched a movie about a serial killer who beheaded filmmakers. Good Lord. Pig, 2018. Well, I'll write that down. That sounds like an interesting idea. Wow. Pig. Okay. From the sounds of it, it sounds like there are some filmmakers. It might not be entirely a tragedy if that happened. That's a terrible thing to say. I shouldn't say that. I take it back. I'm sorry. I don't wish anything horrible on anybody. Kasigan, what happened to the R-rated comedy genre? Comedy is such a dead genre these days. I don't know. There's still R-rated comedies being made. Like Blockers just came out. I've heard that's pretty funny. Haven't seen it, so I can't say for certain. But I've heard good things about it. I don't know. Did you see Blockers? That might be funny. Maybe worth looking into. I do kind of want to see that one. I don't know if I will see it, but we'll see. Oh, and Tully just came out. That's what's her name? Diablo Cody. I was gonna say Juno, but that's not her name. Diablo Cody, her new movie. And she's usually really good at mixing like dark, edgy comedy with genuinely affecting drama. So, and Tully looks really interesting. So I think that'll be one worth checking out. Thoroughbreds just came out, which was kind of a dark, edgy comedy thriller as well. I didn't see that one, but Dana and Felix saw it, and I think they liked it. But I don't know. I don't know what the reviews were like on that one, and I haven't seen it, but it's an R-rated comedy, so I don't know. It seems like every once in a while something will still come out. But yeah, I just haven't really been seeing a lot lately, so I can't really speak with any authority. Snake Plissken. What do you think about the climax trailer? It looked cool. It's a brief trailer. It's only like 57 seconds, but it looked very, very cool. I'm very excited for that one. Gaspar Noé can always be relied upon to give you a unique, memorable experience. So I'm very excited for that one. Kubrick Lover. Oh, no, the reviews were a while back. Oh, you posted your reviews a while back. I might be gone by the time you read this comment. Okay. Well, either way, have a good one, and I hope you post some more reviews, man. I'll look forward to that. Am I subscribed to you? I can't remember if I am. I think I am. Oh, yeah, because you're posting a bunch of music stuff right now. Yeah, I'm seeing that pop-ups. Okay, so I'll keep an eye out for more reviews. Have a good one. Flan. Have you ever heard of the film director Béla Tarr? Yeah, the Hungarian filmmaker. I'd recommend his films, especially Satan Tango, Satan Tango has been on my list for a very, very, very long time. I still haven't seen it. I know it's like 9 hours or something crazy like that. And I've long wanted to see it, but I have yet to see it. But Drake Avila recommends The Turin Horse, which, yeah, is apparently Béla Tarr's last movie, or he said it's going to be his last film. And I don't think he has anything else in the works right now. But Turin Horse is the only film of his that I have seen, which is genius. A genius visionary film. The camera work in that movie is insane. Absolutely insane. And it's a brilliant movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'd love to give it a second viewing, but even just the one years and years ago that I did, the one time I did view it, it still sticks in my memory as such an amazing film. I really want to see that one again, but that's the only Béla Tarr film I've seen. But yeah, I really want to see Satan Tango, Werkmeister Harmonies. I don't think he's done very many movies. Well, he did one, I think, called Man from London, which I've heard kind of mixed things about. But yeah, I want to see more of his stuff. Turin Horse was amazing. Snake Plissken, I have already seen Crimson Rivers. It's good, right? Remember the Tekken 2 scene? That was great. I loved that. Drake Avila. That is mostly due to the great... Oh, what is this in reference to? Turin Horse? Oh, is there a message retracted? Huh, interesting. Mostly due to the great literature writer Laszlo Krasznahorkai. That was my best effort. He is one of the best living writers, and his prose, even though I've only read the English translations, are spellbinding. Never heard of Laszlo Krasznahorkai. Yeah, it looks like half of that is missing, so I don't know what that is in reference to. Oh well. My cinematic self. What do you think of slow cinema directors like Simon Lang or Lav Diaz or Apichatpong Weera's Sethakul? Okay, Simon Liang. I have not seen one of his films. Lav Diaz, I remember somebody brought up at a stream a while back, and I wrote his name down, but I have not seen any of his films, and they're all like 10 hours or something. But Apichatpong, damn it, Weera's Sethakul. if I'm saying that right. I have seen a couple of his films. I saw the one he won the Palme d'Or for, Uncle Boon Me, Who Can Recall His Past Lives, which I thought was a great film. And then I watched one other one he did called Cemetery of Splendor, which I didn't like as much. I thought it had some really good moments in it. But yeah, I can see what you mean. Slow cinema directors, they can be taxing, just on your patience and yeah, on your expectations as an audience member. If you can get into the right headspace, they're really great films. But if you're not quite there, they can be excruciating, kind of like a Tarkovsky, let's say. You really have to be in the right headspace for Tarkovsky or Bela Tarr, yeah, or we are Sethakul, however you say it. I'm sorry. But yeah, when they're good, they're really good. Like I still remember Uncle Boon Me, even though it's been ages since I've seen it. And yeah, I remember really enjoying it. And then yeah, Cemetery of Splendor, I don't know if it was just the mindset I was watching it in or if it wasn't as good. But yeah, I wasn't able to get into that one as much as Uncle Boon Me. There were certain things I liked about it, like the really long shot in the hospital of just the lights changing over and over again. That one really kind of put me in a trance. But then other spots in the movie, yeah, just didn't really hook me. So I don't know. But yeah, Ming Liang and Lav Diaz, I might have checked some of their stuff out too. But it's a huge time commitment, isn't it? Especially for Lav Diaz. But I'll see if I can find some of their stuff. But yeah, slow cinema, if that's what it's called, it's challenging, certainly, very challenging. But an interesting, yeah, sort of antithesis to kind of what modern cinema is, where it's all about speed and energy and quick cuts and almost kind of like movies. I don't know, like I see trailers for certain movies now. Like when I saw Ready Player One, which is a blindingly fast, energetic movie that I really enjoyed. But I saw trailers for other stuff, like the new Avengers movie, which, it isn't really fair to judge a movie just based on a trailer, a movie I haven't seen, yada, yada, yada. But I got to say, like watching the trailer for like the new Avengers movie, I just got a sense that I wasn't really seeing any kind of story. I was just seeing, characters all thrown together, lots of special effects, lots of big spectacle set pieces that didn't really have any kind of coherence. It was like I was just seeing noise and movement and color, and I couldn't really put it into any kind of context or logic, at least in my mind. I don't know, maybe because I haven't seen the previous movies. I don't really have any kind of investment in the series. So maybe just without that context, it all looks like nonsense to me. But I really react that way when I see like more and more trailers for that kind of stuff. It's just like, I have no idea what's going on here. Like that person's with that person. Okay, Iron Man is with that guy from that other thing. And it just all means nothing to me. But, maybe I just don't have the investment that, audiences who have followed that series all the way up to this point, the investment that they have. Or, yeah, I don't know. I remember reading an article a little while back that was kind of about how movies have just become more like giving the appearance of having a story without really having any kind of story, They're plotless movies that are just frantically trying to get from one place to another without really any significance. And I have seen a couple of movies like that where I walk away and I just think that wasn't about anything. And I get that sense from some of these Avengers trailers, but they're just trailers. They're not the movies. I haven't seen them. Not fair to judge them. And yeah, anybody that does have an investment like in the Marvel stuff, good for you. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but just when I see that stuff, I'm just like, I can't make heads or tails of any of this. I don't know. It's just all about boom, 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 effects, spectacles, noise, visuals, but what's going on? I can't tell. So I don't know. It's kind of nice knowing that there are other directors out there like them, like Lav Diaz or somebody like that are just kind of about, let's just slow down a little bit and let's just calm down, and try to do something else.
Jackie. Hey, Henry, how's it going? Glad to see you're streaming again. Hello. Good to see you too. Yeah, spur of the moment thing. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Kind of glad to be back. Glad to see everyone again. Drake Avila. Oh, regarding the nihilism of Bellatar and his cinema. It's the Bellatar plus writer Laszlo Krasznahorkai equals the best Bellatar films. LOL. Okay. Okay, so it's in relation to Bellatar. Thank you for that. Gotcha. Yeah, I've only seen Turin Horse, but very dark movie. Very, very dark movie. Kasigan, why is Brian De Palma so underrated among new Hollywood wave directors compared to Coppola, Scorsese, or Spielberg? I don't know. I guess because De Palma, I don't know. I guess he's had more kind of valleys in his career than most others. Scorsese and Spielberg are kind of like still on top of their game, still doing really great stuff to this day. Coppola, he's kind of had his ups and downs and has more or less retired today, but has made so many like unquestionable American masterpieces that his reputation is kind of secure permanently. I mean, just with Godfather and Apocalypse Now and The Conversation, just like you don't need to do anything more than that. Brian De Palma, I don't know, maybe because he works in genre film more than those other guys. Kind of maybe because his stuff is a little more trashy, and could be accused of being very derivative of Hitchcock, which he has been accused frequently of being very derivative of Hitchcock. Yeah, he kind of works in more disreputable genres like thrillers and sex and violence and horror and stuff like that. I don't know. And yeah, he's just he's gone through so many different phases in his career, from like starting in just like dirt cheap independent and then kind of becoming a studio filmmaker, but then just directing a series of flops like Blowout and Scarface, which have kind of become legendary now, but at the time were really not appreciated. And then kind of having to go back to his roots and then building his way back up and kind of going back to studio stuff in the 90s, like Bonfire of the Vanities and Mission Impossible. And then just kind of going back down again with a series of flops and then kind of trying to do more indie stuff. I don't know. He just seems to be somebody that people either love or hate. I can't really say, yeah. It seems like his reputation has been growing steadily in recent years, like with the documentary De Palma being released and kind of a lot of his stuff kind of finding its way into the Criterion collection, kind of getting reevaluated. But I don't know. It seems like in general, yeah, he still seems to be the lesser appreciated of the new Hollywood movement. And I myself kind of go back and forth on him as well. I'll see certain films of his and just think like, man, this is so great. This is so well made. And then I'll see others and I'll be kind of like, oh, this is so trashy. Like, I'm not a fan of Body Double. I didn't think that was a very good movie. But I am a big fan of like Scarface or Carlito's Way or Carrie, I think is a great movie. Sissy Spacek is so terrific in that film. I don't know. I can't really say. It just seems like Brian De Palma, yeah, is kind of working. Brian De Palma kind of works in a more pulpier mode than like Scorsese or Coppola, who are kind of like trying to tackle these really deep spiritual themes, mostly Scorsese, but Coppola also as well, trying to ask really big questions with his work. Something like Apocalypse Now, he definitely did not have small ambitions with that movie. He said like, this movie is not about Vietnam. It is Vietnam. He kind of had such huge ambitions for his work. Whereas De Palma was kind of like, again, yeah, working in this kind of this pulpier, more genre sort of mode, which is, yeah, doesn't typically garner the respect or the admiration that, this other stuff does, like the spiritual work of Scorsese or the incredible spectacle of Spielberg, or the incredible artistic ambition of Coppola. De Palma's kind of got his thing that he does and that he does really well. And if you appreciate it, then you really appreciate it. But if not, then it's just kind of like, De Palma's so so trashy and so derivative, But yeah, I definitely find myself more on the positive side with De Palma. I think he really is a great filmmaker who just, yeah, he's made some movies I really appreciate and others I don't appreciate as much. But he's an interesting filmmaker. I think anybody, yeah, who hasn't really dug into his work yet really should, because there's some great stuff to discover. Film persona. Oh, that's for somebody else. Snake Plissken. Whoops. I lost my place. Oh. Yeah, Snake Plissken. Have you seen You Were Never Really Here? Not yet, but it's playing in theaters, and I would really like to see it while it's still playing. I've heard it's intense, which is no surprise. Lynn Ramsey, even when she's not doing hyper-violent movies, Lynn Ramsey is always dark and intense and tough, but she's great. She's a visionary, too. So yeah, I really want to see that one while I have a chance. But if I miss it, you know, Amazon's putting it out, so I'm sure I'll be able to stream it fairly soon. Josso1, evening. Evening, Josso. Hello. Oh, Jace Daniels. All right, yeah. I'll help you film tomorrow. Drake Avila. Diablo Cody is a very limited writer, not imaginative or expansive on themes and concepts, so she bores me. That's a harsh criticism. I don't think I agree with that. I think she's a very talented writer. She has a mode that she works in, but she works in it very well. I think she understands the characters she writes about very, very well. She's very observant. She has a really strong ear for dialogue and interaction. She doesn't really follow the typical rules of, you know, making characters likable or following, a conventional sort of structure. But I think she's really good at what she does. Really, really good. Like Young Adult, I think, is an amazing movie. And Charlize Theron gives such a fearless performance in that movie. It's such a thoroughly unlikable character that she plays, with no redeeming qualities, with no lesson that she learns over the course of the story. It's an uncompromising film and an uncompromising character and an uncompromising performance. And I just admire the hell out of that. It takes so much guts to do something like that. And they really did it. So she earned my respect. Anybody that can write a movie like Young Adult, I have nothing but admiration for. So Diablo Cody gets a thumbs up in my book. Flan, Bellatar, plus Laszlo, damn it, Krasnahorkai, plus Mihaly Vig, composer, plus Agnes Horanitsky, editor, equals Poetic Film Harmony. I'll take your word for it. I have never heard these names, most of them, except for Bellatar. I need to see more of his stuff. And I need to rewatch Turin Horse, but until then. Drake Avila, the Bellatar music was never something I really felt in his films. I like more the quiet scenes he produces without camera movement. I'm trying to think. Can't really comment upon this expertly. My frame of reference is a little too small for Bellatar. Josso1, has anyone ever seen Black Moon? My question would be, what is that film even about, if anything? Let's see what we got here. Drake Avila, Black Moon is a fever dream implying the future gender war of men versus women, LOL. Louis Malle was ahead of his time with Black Moon. Yeah, it's a weird movie. I don't know. It is. Yeah, that's another one I got. I've watched it a couple of times. What is it? What it's about? I really couldn't tell you. Get back in there. I love Louis Malle. He's one of my favorites. I think he's such an underrated director. I think, like, for French New Wave, most of the praise gets lavished upon, like, Jean-Luc Godard and Francois Truffaut, and they're great. But Louis Malle, I think, was just as good. And the body of work that he created is really extraordinary. So many great, underseen, underappreciated films that he made. And yeah, Black Moon is one of the weirdest. It's definitely interesting. It's a movie I get engrossed in when I watch. But what does it mean? I couldn't tell you. But, for me, I'm somebody... I just kind of like to experience the movie. And if I don't understand it, then I kind of enjoy it even more. I'm not somebody that really likes to analyze and pick apart and figure everything out. I kind of like when movies don't make sense. That's more enjoyable to me. Like one of my all-time favorites is Denis Villeneuve's Enemy, which is a really strange kind of abstract, surrealist kind of horror film. What does it mean? I couldn't begin to tell you. I've seen it like 5 or 6 times. I haven't even begun to formulate an analysis of it. And I like it that way. I like still being able to watch it and for it to remain just as mysterious as it was the first time I see it. Those are my favorite kinds of movies, the ones that I just cannot explain. So what does Black Moon mean? I'm kind of the wrong person to ask because if something occurs to me, then I'll pursue it and I'll try to analyze and pick apart. But if a movie just remains like a beautiful, dreamish mystery, then I'm perfectly willing to accept that. I don't need answers. Oftentimes, I prefer not having the answers. So there you go. It's all about the experience for me. Josso1. Oh, good news, by the way, everyone. 2001 has been remastered in 4K. Right on. It was shot in 70 millimeter, though, so it could get an 8K remaster. That's 70 millimeter. It's 8K. So we'll wait for that one, right? But no, that if it's in 4K, that means it'll probably come back to theaters. I'll have to try to catch that one again. I've seen it like 3 times in theaters. I think once digital and twice on 70 millimeter, which is great. Anybody ever gets the opportunity to see 2001 in 70 millimeter, do it because it's amazing. Drake Avila, Uncle Boonmi is great. Agreement here. Oh, Kubrick lover. The Uncle Boonmi director used to be a resident at the Jacob Burns Film Center. My friend can pronounce his name. I can't. He told everybody there to call him Joe. That's convenient. Just, yeah. Dumb American over here. Sorry. Drake Avila. Oh, is this about Black Moon? It's a Freudian feast of the self-developing and rebelling against old age, or the superego, against old age, or the superego. And it also arises questions on the protagonist's awareness of her sexuality. LOL. I can't tell if you're being serious or not right now. The LOL kind of like takes the piss out of everything. Interesting interpretation, though. Yeah, I don't know. I've never read it that way. I don't even really understand what I just read. But it's always interesting, yeah, to read something that is smarter than me. Kubrick lover, my Google Hangout is not happening, so I'm still here. Good to have you aboard, Kubrick lover. I might be bringing this to a close fairly soon. We'll see if I can get through all of the chat fairly soon. My Cinematic Self. Another awesome movie you may love, which is slow, is the Thai film By the Time It Gets Dark. My second favorite film of 2017. I will write that one down. By the Time It Gets Dark. Okay. By the Time It Gets Dark. I'll look it up. Thank you. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate a slower film, but I also really love the energetic stuff too. I think if I were to make movies, it's kind of a toss-up. There's a part of me that wants to make really slow, contemplative films, and I have a few ideas for stuff like that, but a lot of my ideas kind of have like this sort of frantic quality to them. I love energy. I love driving things forward. But yeah, with a direction, not senselessly, but kind of giving it a focus and then just charging forward on that focus. But I don't know. Also, yeah, it's good to have the slower, more contemplative stuff too, just to kind of pull you back down and ground you. Drake Avila. Louis Malle was never a same topic or themed auteur. He's more like Picasso and Gerhard Richter as painters. He goes everywhere with the style. That he does. And yeah, he was kind of able to jump into just about any genre and do it really, really well. I mean, he did romance, he did thrillers, he did comedies, he did political movies, he did, pieces based on the theater. He did kind of like experimental stuff like My Dinner with Andre. He did dramas, he did period pieces, he did contemporary films. He did just about everything, and he pretty much did it all exceptionally well. I can't think of one movie that I've seen, at least, that I didn't think was really exceptional. He was such an underrated filmmaker, and yes, such a range, such a versatility, and yeah, such a skill, with everything that he tackled. He's so underrated. Anybody who is not really familiar with Louis Malle's work should really dive into it. My Dinner with Andre, Au revoir les enfants, Black Moon's a good one. Zazie dans le métro is a crazy, wild slapstick comedy. Elevator to the Gallows, his first one, worth checking out, and many, many more as well. Kubrick lover, do you have those Criterion Martin Scorsese World Cinema Project box sets? I've only watched one film from them, an African film called Tukibuki. The second set has one by Whereas Scopial. Damn it. No, I do not have those box sets, and I have not seen any of the films in those sets, but I really want to. It's amazing what Scorsese is doing with film preservation and distribution, and yeah, getting great films from all around the world in a format where they can be viewed easily by people. I admire the hell out of that guy for his dedication, not just to making movies, but just for preserving movies and getting movies seen. It's really amazing. So yeah, I definitely want to get those sets. Money's kind of tight right now, so I don't know if I can anytime soon, but I would definitely like to, and to dive into some of those. Drake Avila. Black Moon was Malle's attempt to catch up to the 60s experimental cinema of Godard, René, Bergman, and Altman even. That's kind of funny. I never thought of Altman as an experimental filmmaker, but he kind of was. Like stuff like Images, Three Women. What was that crazy one he did with Paul Newman? Quintet? Was it Quintet? Yeah, I think it was Quintet. He actually kind of was an experimental filmmaker, which is weird to think. I've never thought of him that way before, but it makes sense. He smoked a lot of weed, so no surprise there. Lionel Henry, Gaspar Noé or Harmony Korine? Not a choice I can make. I don't know. I love them both. I think they're both great filmmakers. And yeah, they're so different. I don't think I could make a clear choice between the two of them. Sorry, I'm bad at that kind of stuff. Not a choice I can make. Kubrick lover, De Palma said he can't make the same kinds of films these days because maybe he said he can't get the finances, so I think he had to go to Europe for films like Femme Fatale. Did you see the documentary about him? Yeah, I think you're right. Most of De Palma's more recent films have been European productions. Yeah, like Femme Fatale and Passion. Yeah, I think have been European productions. Yeah, I don't think he's really able to get stuff made in the U.S. anymore, unfortunately. And the documentary, De Palma, I have not yet seen, but it is streaming on Amazon Prime, and I hope to watch it one day soon. It's been on my watch list for a long time. Kubrick lover, what's your opinion on Dressed to Kill? I thought it was really well done. That was one I saw a long time ago. I went on a De Palma kick in high school, and I watched like all of his movies up to that point, which I think, what was his most recent one? He hadn't done Passion yet. I can't remember what I went up to. I did eventually see Passion, which was unfortunately not very good. Wasn't horrible, but the original one, was it Love Crime, I think, with Kristen Scott Thomas? That one is much better. If you got to see one version of that, see Love Crime. Passion is unfortunately inferior, in my opinion. But yeah, in high school, I became sort of obsessed with De Palma, and I watched like everything. And I definitely did watch Dressed to Kill, and I remember liking it. but it's been so long, and I only saw it the one time. I can't really say for certain. I remember liking it, but yeah, I can't really dive into a real in-depth opinion on it just because it's been so long. I'd have to watch it again. So if I ever do that, I'll let you know. Drake Avila, Nicholas Winding Refn reminds me of De Palma. Really good technical stylists, but substance-wise, not as heavy as they think their films really are. Ooh, but they are fun films. I sort of agree with you. I don't know if they even necessarily are trying to tackle, like, really deep themes. I don't know, maybe. I haven't really seen a lot of interviews with Nicholas Winding Refn. I know for De Palma, he doesn't really seem to have too many illusions about himself. You know, he considers himself a stylist from what I've read, and his films are really great works of style. And then, yeah, it just depends on how much you get out of that as a viewer, which sometimes, you know, I think style is great. Style can almost, and I think De Palma said this, he said like style is substance, which I agree with him partially. I think style can be substance if it's really well done. But then other times it can just feel empty. But I don't know, sometimes style can become sort of transcendent, you know? Like if you're a Gaspar Noé or somebody like that. Yeah, Gaspar Noé is one I would almost say like his works are kind of like pure exercises in style, but they're so damn good that it creates a sort of substance out of that style, for me at least. And then, yeah, Nicholas Winding Refn, yeah, I'm kind of half and half on him too. He's done movies that I love, like Bronson or Drive, and then ones that I just wasn't too keen on, like Only God Forgives. Neon Demon, I thought had some good spots to it, but also some other spots, you know, that weren't quite as good. So I don't know. But he's an interesting filmmaker. He's really created his own unique style and aesthetic, and that's not an easy thing to do. So he at least has that going for him. I mean, you can at least watch one of his movies and just look at it and know that you're watching a Nicholas Winding Refn film, which is something. That's not something a lot of filmmakers have really accomplished. So I have to give him credit for that. As far as the stories and the substance of his movies, that's kind of hit or miss, unfortunately. But he's a very talented technical stylist, as you said, Drake. I definitely agree with that. It's always really wonderful just to look at one of Refn's movies and just let the visuals and the sound and the music just sort of wash over you. Kasigan, I saw Bad Lieutenant 1992. Just amazed by the arc and transformation of the character Harvey Keitel played. What are the best character arcs you have seen in films? Another tough question, one I'd have to spend a lot of time thinking about. Off the top of my head, Malcolm X is a movie that comes to mind. That's one I'll think about every now and again and just think about what an extraordinary character arc is portrayed in that movie. And obviously it's based on a true story, an actual person. But yeah, the way Denzel Washington plays Malcolm X in that movie and the way it just covers the whole scope of his life, kind of from his beginnings as just kind of a petty criminal to just being, you know, somebody who kind of breaks down completely in prison and then kind of rebuilds himself as an intellectual and then reinvents himself as a cultural, social leader. And then the whole arc he goes through with the politics of being a social leader and competing with other social leaders, the scope of that, of just everything that happened in that guy's life and the way Spike Lee as a writer and a director and the way Denzel Washington as an actor portray all of that, the huge development of Malcolm X as a human being, of where he goes throughout his life, is extraordinary. That's like a 4-hour movie, and it uses every minute of that runtime to brilliant effect. You know, it really couldn't have been shorter. That's an extraordinary film. Highly recommended to anybody who hasn't seen it. And yeah, I think one of the most extraordinary character arcs ever covered in a movie. Really worth seeing. Kubrick lover. De Palma is sort of a perfectionist, definitely. He did 11 takes for one shot in The Untouchables, where the camera crane is above Al Capone being shaved, and there had to be a cutaway for the shot to be smooth. Huh. Oh, just for the camera movement, like getting the smooth movement. I could see that. Yeah, I read that book about the making of Bonfire of the Vanities, which was a really good book. It's called The Devil's Candy. I forget the author, but it's a really fascinating glimpse, behind the scenes of a Hollywood production and what a nightmare it can be, and the egos that run wild, and the resources and the money spending that gets out of hand. It's really fascinating. But one thing I remember is it went into what a perfectionist De Palma was, and how he would do dozens of takes of shots to get the camera movements perfectly smooth and perfectly right. So I've definitely heard of that, of De Palma's perfectionism, just as far as the technical aspects of his work. My voice is starting to give out again. We might have to end this fairly soon. Drake Avila, the eternal debate of is a director like De Palma or Hitchcock an artist or an entertainer? I think any great director is a mixture of both. I think if you're a filmmaker, especially if you're a writer-director like De Palma, or somebody like Hitchcock, who would kind of like oversee all of his productions and kind of help their development along himself, I think they would always end up putting pieces of themselves into them, even though first and foremost they were kind of entertainers. They were trying to make genre films, they were trying to make suspense films or action films or whatever. They were really trying to make films that were entertaining, but I think the art kind of crept in underneath that. And I think any filmmaker that really puts a lot of themselves into a movie, just as far as like in the writing and in the directing, you always end up sneaking personal things into that. So even if, I think we'd be really surprised, to look at certain movies and how much personal expression is in them. We might look at certain movies that we consider like great works of art, only to find that there's almost nothing personal in them. Like The Godfather. Coppola, in interviews, has stated multiple times that he was just a director for hire, that it wasn't a personal film for him. It was just a film that he did, to get money to do his personal stuff, like The Conversation or stuff like that. And The Godfather is such a great movie. It's one of the greatest movies, but it's not really a personal expression at all, but still a great movie. And then, we might be surprised to look at, other things that we don't consider as respectable as something like that are maybe far more personal and far more intimate artistic expressions than a movie like The Godfather. You really can't judge a book by its cover. But obviously there are exceptions. There are directors that like to push boundaries as far as like films should be entertainment. There are directors that try to break out of that, like Lav Diaz or Uncle Boon Me. I don't even want to try to say his name again. But directors like that try to push it in a different direction. But I think for the most part, just because of the nature of film, because it takes so much money, because it takes so much time, and because it takes so many resources, any great film and any great director, I think, have to be a mix between personal artistic expression and just entertainment, spectacle and entertainment. And I think for each filmmaker, it's kind of trying to figure out where that balance is between entertainment and art. But for me, like any great director is a great entertainer. Like Stanley Kubrick, great artist, but also a great entertainer. Like a movie like Clockwork Orange it's supremely dark, but it's also supremely entertaining. It's a movie you can't stop watching. That's art that is also entertaining. Somebody like Scorsese, great entertainer, but also great artist. So I think, that's always, for any director, that's always the balance. How much of an artist they are versus how much of an entertainer they are. And I think each director has pieces of both in them, whether you're Lav Diaz or Michael Bay. I think there's a bit of entertainer to somebody like Lav Diaz, and I think there's a bit of an artist to somebody like Michael Bay, however controversial that opinion may be. Kubrick lover. De Palma talks about lazy filmmaking. I think that might mean other filmmakers might take the easy way out with easier shots instead of choosing the right shots. As you probably know from the documentary, which I haven't seen, he usually has to ask the studio for more money to finish his films right. Yeah, I don't know a lot about De Palma, but I do remember Devil's Candy, Bonfire of the Vanities. Yeah, that one went way over budget. And yeah, it was part of the reason why it it tanked so hard at the box office, because yeah, the costs just ran so high on that one. But yeah, it makes sense. I've definitely heard a few stories about that, of De Palma, yeah, spending so much time trying to get certain stuff right that he does go over budget. But, you know, Kubrick did the same thing, and a lot of other directors. So that's not necessarily unusual. I think it's becoming more rare just with where the film industry is now. You've really got to be conscious of time and money. Unless you're making like a Marvel movie, then it's not so much of an issue. But yeah, even if you're Steven Spielberg, you know, if you're doing something that isn't part of a big franchise, it's kind of tough. Yeah, and you have to really be conscious of your budget and your schedule. And the lower down the totem pole you get, the more difficult it is. Drake Avila, Diablo Cody equals white trash American cinema, LOL. Hey, there's no shame in that. If you do that well, that is something to be proud of. Look at Harmony Korine. He loves white trash American cinema, and he does it unbelievably well, and so does Diablo Cody. So being a white trash American auteur, no shame in that. No shame whatsoever. It's all about art, and there's art to be found in every avenue of life. That's what I believe. Mohi, have you seen On Body and Soul? It's my favorite film, 2017. I have not. I'll write it down, though. On Body and Soul. I'll look it up. Josso1, hey, if you want another movie that nobody understands, watch Sam Was Here. Okay, another one on the list. Kubrick lover, do you like long films? I sort of like them sometimes because the length can make the film work well as long as the film is well done. Yeah, it really depends. I've seen long films that I just thought were excessive. I've even seen short films that I thought were excessive. But then, yeah, I've seen other long films that I just thought were just the right length, like Malcolm X or Fanny and Alexander, stuff like that. It really depends on the movie. Just, is the movie good enough to justify the length? If it is, then yeah, I love the hell out of a long film. I think, did somebody mention Lawrence of Arabia? Oh yeah, Kubrick lover. Speaking of seeing 2001 in a theater, I saw Lawrence of Arabia twice in the theaters. Once in the 90s with David Lean's director's cut, and the 50th anniversary when they advertised it. I bought the 50th anniversary Blu-ray edition. It's fantastic. Are you talking about that one up there behind the Zatoichi box set? I've got it too. Yeah, that's a great movie. 4 hours and it works. That's a long film where the length is justified just because the subject is so interesting and the filmmaking is so extraordinary. So yeah, it just depends on the movie. I don't think there are any set rules on film, you know? I don't think films have to be a certain length. I don't think they have to be about a certain subject. I don't think they have to be in a certain genre. Films can be great just if they're great films, you know? If the people that make them really put something into it and really put something personal in it, put some kind of creativity or originality behind it, anything can be great. It doesn't matter if it's short or long, if it's highbrow or lowbrow, it doesn't matter. If it's big budget or low budget, it's just, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. You know, there are no rules that determine whether or not a movie is good or not. And I get kind of bummed when I see like certain YouTube videos or analyses or whatever it is trying to say like, this movie is bad because it does this, this, and this, because there's no character arc, because there's no inciting incident, because it doesn't follow the 3-act structure, because it doesn't do this, or because it doesn't do that. I always get so angry when I see stuff like that because, you know, you may not like that about a movie, but by no means is it a definitive indicator of whether or not a film is good. It's just what the film does, and it can be good or bad. It's all subjective, you know? And I dislike when people try to turn it into an objective thing, you know? Like, you can determine whether this movie is bad by going down this checklist. And if it doesn't do these things, then it's bad. If it does, then it's good. It's bullshit, you know? You can't, there's no way of objectively determining a film's quality, any works of art's quality. It's all entirely subjective. It's all about your personal experience with it. Was that good or bad? That's the only thing that determines it. Sorry, mini rant there. But I don't know. I just see stuff on like Last Jedi and people saying, here's why Last Jedi is objectively bad. It's like, bullshit. It's bullshit. If you were disappointed, oh well, you know, big deal. There's a new Star Wars movie coming out this year. Get over it. Just don't understand this kind of stuff. Kubrick Lover, I'll shut up now. Nice to see you, Disregarding Henry. Nice to see you too, Kubrick Lover. Thank you for your comments. My cinematic self, I've never once commented or chatted with you, so my mind is exploding with recommendations for you. Last one. The works of Toshiaki Toyoda, such as Pornostar, Nine Souls, Blue Spring, I'm Flash, and so on. He has energy with 3 exclamation points, so you really made your point. Actually, you know what? I think, yeah, I have seen this guy's movies. Yeah. Oh yeah, Toshiaki Toyoda. Okay, so yeah, I think this is the one. This DVD is called Tokyo Rampage, but I think this is Pornostar. I think that was the original title. So yeah, I have seen this one. Blue Spring, yeah, is the other one that I own. I haven't watched this one yet, but I really want to. The other ones I have not seen. Nine Souls, I'm Flash. I'll write those down, though. Yeah, Tokyo Rampage was intense. And yeah, I just haven't really set aside time to watch Blue Spring yet, but I'm trying to make sure I do that. And yeah, Nine Souls, which I think I've heard of. I'm Flash, which I have not. But I'll write those down. Okay. Josso 1, new Quentin Dupieux film coming out this year, by the way. Did not know that. I'll have to look into that. Big fan of Quentin Dupieux. I watched Rubber. I actually wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it was interesting, really wild and really original. There was a lot of stuff I did like about it, but I don't know. Overall, I didn't really get into it, or at least as much as I was hoping to get into it. Maybe I just had... Yeah, I was expecting too much out of it because I saw Reality before that, and I loved Reality. I thought that was a masterpiece. And yeah, Rubber I didn't like as much, but still interesting. Still like nothing else I've ever seen, so that's worth it. Zach Hayes, hey, you're finally back. Just joined in, so I'll start from the beginning after you're done streaming. Oh, sorry you missed a lot of it, Zach. Good to see you, though. Lionel Henry, Gaspar, and Harmony Korine both have movies coming out this year. Harmony Korine does? Is that The Beach Bum? I didn't know that was finished. If so, I'm really looking forward to that one. Gaspar has one called, Climax, and Harmony has one called The Beach Bum. Okay, so look out for those. Yeah, Climax, I just saw the trailer for today before I started the stream. Looks really crazy. Very excited for that one. And Beach Bum, I didn't know was coming out this year. So I'm very excited for that as well. Zach Hayes, I haven't seen too many new films this year, but my favorite so far is probably You Were Never Really Here. I know it's early in the year, but it's the only thing that stuck out to me. Haven't seen that one yet, but I want to. Would like to, catch that one while it's still in theaters. Drake Avila, Lynn Ramsey's direction, Johnny Greenwood's overpowering score, and Joaquin Phoenix's muscle-bound performance at 1 hour, 30 minutes of a visceral, disorienting, sleazy dream world of trauma and redemption. Make You Were Never Really Here, a powerhouse film of 2017-2018. Nice. Zach Hayes, You Were Never Really Here kind of reminded me of Taxi Driver and the movie Drive a little bit. Well, I've heard it's violent, so that makes sense. Thomas, AFG Thomas. Hello, you speak like Google. Haha. Thank you. I've never heard that before. Kubrick Lover, I just like a good long film sometimes. I like shorter films too. There, now I'll shut up. Nice to see you, Henry. Nice to see you too. Yeah, I think we're coming up to the end of the chat, so I'm about ready to close it out. Drake Avila, I'm more keen on Robert Bresson's take on cinema as a new medium, his cinematography, and sometimes I am in the mood for filmed theater, like most films have been for the last 110 years or so. I don't know. Are films like film theater? I disagree. I know, I guess some are, but I don't know. Just the techniques of cinema are so different from the techniques of theater, at least in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like editing just kind of breaks things up in a way that you never could do in theater. Theater is kind of about time and space. Cinema is kind of about the fracturing of time and space, you know? It's about manipulating time and space to your own means to produce a certain kind of emotional effect. That's my feeling on it, at least. Roy O'Connor, you should have Nick's Fears on your streams, and you should be on hers. Nick's Fears. I think I have heard of this person's channel. Don't know though. I'm not, on YouTube so much, really watching a lot of stuff. But I could try looking them up. Drake Avila, but then Stan Brakhage, Man Ray, Hollis Frampton, Maya Deren just sit so well and challenge the medium into something else. It transcends my knowledge of time and existence. Hey, there you go. Yeah, all of those artists, were pretty far out there in the avant-garde. I haven't seen a lot of their work. I haven't seen any of Mon Ray's stuff. I've seen a couple Hollis Frampton shorts, a couple Stan Brakhage shorts. I think I saw like one Maya Deren short in film school, but that's about it. Yeah, I've never been so into the avant-garde. A little bit. I think it's interesting what they do. And I think certainly it can inspire narrative film in really interesting ways. Like Gaspar Noé, I think, is someone who's used the techniques of the avant-garde in the service of narrative in really interesting, really innovative ways. Like something like Enter the Void is so influenced by stuff like Stan Brakhage and Kenneth Anger and many, many others who were working in the non-narrative avant-garde. And he kind of takes that stuff and applies it to narrative, or sort of narrative. And the results are so flabbergasting that, it deepened my appreciation for the avant-garde. I used to not think much of it, but then, seeing kind of how the different styles of film kind of influence each other and build on each other, it's deepened my appreciation, not just for avant-garde, but for kind of every avenue of cinema. It kind of makes you realize that no section of cinema is just kind of existing on its own. It's all existing in conjunction with something else, or in response to something else, or in contrast to something else. It's all kind of part of the same creative drive, you know. Nothing exists on its own. It's all kind of part of the same thing. It's like the human race, right? If I can get into a big statement here, it's like how there's no them, there is only us, as Guillermo del Toro said. Whether it's Maya Deren or Roland Emmerich, it's all kind of part of the same movement, isn't it? The same art, as wild as that is. But I believe that, you know. Josso1, reality is probably 10 times better than rubber. Okay, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. Anthony Ramirez, can you recommend me a movie? Josso, no, but we can recommend you 1,000. Anthony Ramirez, LOL, go for it. Drake Avila, when I say film theater, the films follow conventional narrative structures of the script. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from there. But I don't know. I feel like you get more freedom as far as what you can do with narrative in a film than you do in a theater, which is not to say anything bad about theater. Theater is great at what it does. But I think you have more restrictions in a theater, which can be good for creativity. Restrictions, I think, are always the best thing for creativity. But with film, I don't know. I feel like we still haven't even discovered everything film is capable of as a narrative medium or as a non-narrative medium. There are a few directors, you know, trying to find those new ways of telling a story, like Terrence Malick or somebody like that. But I think we're still like in that process of trying to figure out like what films are and what cinema is. So that's kind of the exciting thing about it, is that we're still in that process of discovery. Zach Hayes, hopefully we finally get to see Terry Gilliam's new film that he's been working on forever, because it almost didn't play at Cannes and he had a small stroke. Yeah, I talked about that earlier in the stream. I think I'm going to do an Unmade Masterpieces on that one. So you can either, watch the beginning of the stream or just stay tuned. Like, I don't know. I can't even begin to give an estimation of when the next Unmade Masterpieces will be out, but maybe in a month or two. Who knows? But yeah, I think I'm going to do Man Who Killed Don Quixote as the next Unmade Masterpieces. Drake Avila, Godard is a good example, or David Lynch and Inland Empire. They shot the films without a finished script. So it goes against film theater in philosophy. Lars von Trier tackled it too with the dogma movement. I don't know, you'd be surprised how many films do start filming without a finished script. I mean, like Steven Spielberg filmed Jaws without a finished script. He kind of figured that one out as he was making it, which is why he still calls it, to this day, the most difficult film he's ever made, because it was one, that he just kept shooting and messing up, and then just figuring it out. But yeah, Jaws was an exceptionally excruciating process. There's a great book about it called The Jaws Log by Carl Gottlieb, which I recommend for anybody who likes good books on film. Jaws was something else. But yeah, it was exactly that way. They didn't have a finished script, and they were just kind of like writing scenes and figuring out characters and creating set pieces just in the moment. So I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like Godard or David Lynch to really be what you're talking about. I think Spielberg is a great example of that. Like Saving Private Ryan, he shot without a finished script, without even storyboards. He just made that movie up day by day. Like the whole D-Day sequence, not a single storyboard in that whole sequence. You look at the scale of that thing, it's mind-boggling that he did that without a storyboard, but he did. He just made it up shot by shot, figured it out day by day. Unbelievable. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of different kinds of stuff out there. Shubham Nauni, by the way, Tree of Life is getting a 4-hour release. I could watch a 24-hour one. Bring it on. That's the spirit. Yeah, I did hear about that. I did hear that there's a new 4-hour Criterion version. So yeah, I'm excited about that. About damn time, right? Been waiting for the Criterion one of that one forever. I'm still waiting on Love to be put out in Criterion, because Gaspar Noé, he did like the whole closet video where he went in the Criterion closet and he picked out a bunch of stuff. He did that ages ago, and that was supposed to be for the Criterion release of Love, and it's still not here. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how Criterion works behind closed doors. Drake Avila. But Jaws had a book, a novel with a structure to have in mind. Peter Benchley's novel, like most films have source material. Yeah, but they changed it considerably as they were shooting it. Like the whole that whole monologue that Quint has, the Robert Shaw character, when they're on the boat and he talks about being on the Indianapolis when it sank and the shark attack. That was all created during production. That wasn't in the original script or the novel. That was something that like several screenwriters that they had on location. I think John Milius wrote the first version of it, and then it was rewritten by somebody else, and then Robert Shaw rewrote it himself, and then they kind of improvised a lot of stuff in addition to that, and then kind of figured out a lot of other stuff as they were shooting and did, a lot of other versions of it. And improvisation played a huge part in the creation of Jaws. A lot of those little like great moments between Roy Scheider and his family, like when his son is kind of like imitating everything he's doing at the table, those were just improvs that they came up with those in the moment. So it was a movie that changed and evolved quite considerably as they were making it. And I think without scenes like that, just like those little moments between Roy Scheider's character and his family, they do so much to invest you emotionally in the story and to deepen that character and to make him more of a character that you sympathize with and that you relate to. And that was all just stuff on the fly that they were creating. So I disagree with that. They did have a structure. They did have kind of a blueprint they were working with, but the process of making it, I think, really took on a life of its own. That's honestly how I feel about it. But I think that's filmmaking, you know? I read a Quentin Tarantino quote the other day where he was saying the last draft of his script is the first edit of his movie. You know, films are just, they're such a big, unwieldy thing to try and create that you basically have to learn to improvise no matter what. And you have to roll with the punches, and you have to figure out solutions to problems. So movies are constantly changing and evolving. You're rewriting them as you're shooting them. You're cutting things out. You're figuring things out. And yeah, I think Tarantino really got it right when he said it's not until you basically lock down the first edit that you really stop writing. And then it just becomes a process of like just tightening. But I think there's a lot of wisdom in that quote. That's definitely been my experience with it. The worst experiences I've had is when I've tried to stick too close to a script and the thing that I've had in mind from the beginning. I think, yeah, films really do have to be flexible, and you have to have a talent for improvising. I think that always produces better results. It's when you're too rigid and you try too hard to stick to just what you thought of initially that you tend to get the worst results, at least in my experience. I found it's always better when you can just be in the moment and just kind of like making gut instinct decisions on the fly. I think you always get better results that way. My cinematic self. Hong Sang-soo is the guy who writes his scripts the morning of his shoots. Another great director I thoroughly enjoy. Yeah, I think Godard does it the same way. That's how he did Breathless. Just wrote the day's scenes the morning before he went to set. I don't believe I've seen a Hong Sang-soo film, so I will look him up. Drake Avila, I get you. They made it cinematic along the way, but there was a path already there to follow. Not necessarily. There is kind of an idea, but I think you create the path as you follow it. I think certainly in the case of Jaws or a lot of films like that, you kind of have an idea of what you're trying to do, but you don't really know what you're doing until you've done it. You know, I think the idea that you have a clear goal and you know exactly what you're trying to do, I don't think that's necessarily true with any director, whether you're Kubrick or Spielberg or David Lynch or anybody. It's just kind of like you create your own path as you're walking it, you know, and you don't really know if it's going to work until you get to the end. It's always a toss-up. Nobody has any idea, you know, if what they have in their head is going to work on screen. And it's not until you see it that you know for sure. So I think, yeah, whether you're making Jaws or Inland Empire or Breathless, you have no idea if it's going to work. And you have no idea if what you're trying to do makes any sense at all. But once you put it all together, then that's when you have that first final answer. Like, oh, this doesn't work at all. What the hell are we going to do? Or like, oh, no, good. There's something here. It makes sense. Thank goodness. Drake Avila, cinema is a vast ocean with a diversity of creatures coexisting together, and it's a matter of personal taste. All good. Yeah, amen to that. You know, I really don't get people that lose their minds, you know, on social media and just get into the most vicious fights over a movie. You know, I take movies seriously. I think movies are an important art form. But I'm not going to lose my mind, you know, over the fact that, you know, somebody maybe doesn't like the same movie I like. Big deal. You know, that person has every right to dislike a movie that I think is, you know, the greatest movie ever made. Big deal. I still like the movie. And them not liking the movie has no effect on my life whatsoever. Big deal. I just don't understand that. Yeah, if you like Tarkovsky, if you like Michael Bay, if you like whatever, big deal. You know, it's not causing any harm. Like, let's just respect each other's opinions. Why not? Why is that so tough? I don't get it. Kubrick lover. Hitchcock stuck hard to scripts, and so did Bergman. Maybe some directors have to stick to the script. There, now I'm done. Yeah, some directors do. I know Hitchcock, yeah. Maybe that's why I don't like Hitchcock so much, is because he was too rigid. And to me, when I watch his movies, I just sense that. I just sense a sort of stiffness, you know, an artificiality to it that, yeah, just, I don't know, maybe speaks to those rigid origins a little bit too much, that he was just somebody that was so fixated on getting it a certain way that he couldn't really figure out a better way, you know, in the moment, which I think all of my favorite directors, that's what they do. You know, even Kubrick, he wouldn't even really figure stuff out until he'd done 100 takes and then stumbled on something that was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's do it that way. Whereas Hitchcock, yeah, I don't know, just maybe a little too formal in his approach, a little too locked into a certain way of doing it. But yeah, Hitchcock has never really spoken to me for that reason. But Bergman, yeah, Bergman I can get into, but I think also he was just somebody that did a lot of work on his scripts too. Like he did rehearsals, like a lot of rehearsals. He came from the theater, so he would collaborate very closely with the actors. They would do a lot of rehearsals. He would rewrite constantly. He would have long discussions with each actor over their characters and the story, and he would get all of their thoughts and opinions and then rewrite the script based on all of those conversations and based on all of the rehearsals and what he thought was working versus what he thought wasn't working. So he did stick to a script, but it was a script that he put a hell of a lot of hours and a hell of a lot of thought into. So I think there was still that kind of flexibility where he was incorporating a lot of other stuff as he was making it. But then when it got to the actual shooting, it was like they'd locked it down and they'd figured everything out. But that's the benefit of doing lots of rehearsals. Drake Avila, last take, recommend to watch 2015 doc, Hitchcock Truffaut, makes you think later. Okay, yeah, I know of that one. I have that book, Hitchcock Truffaut, but I have not seen the documentary, and I have not read the book, so I need to do both of those things. Hitchcock Truffaut, just so I don't forget. Okay. Drone Livre, Brazil, great movie. And a great country, too. Okay. Okay. I think we've about come to the end here, so I think I'm going to close it out now. How long has it been? I'm going to say February was probably the last one I did. February, March, April, May, about 3 months. Let's hope it's not 3 months till I see you again. Maybe next week, hopefully. Can't really say a day. Don't know what my days off are going to be. But if I get a day, I'll stop by and check in on all of you. We'll talk about some more movies then. And yeah, in the meantime, I'll try and get some work done on Unmade Masterpieces. Post one of those fairly soon. But thank you all for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. Glad you all showed up. Glad we could talk about some stuff. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all again real soon. But thank you so much for watching. And yeah, whenever I post an Unmade Masterpieces, please do watch that. And we'll see if I can keep those going. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed yourself. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Have a good one. Have a good day. Have a good week. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And just try to watch some good movies, right? All right. Goodbye, everyone.